Hey guys, tonight we're not drifting through the greasy, sunburnt world of pirates. No splintery death traps, no stolen biscuits, and no unwashed sailors arguing over who misplaced the only map that didn't lead to disappointment. Nope. Tonight we're marching straight into the dusty, dramatic, absolutely outrageous world of ancient warfare. And not the kind led by predictable kings or overconfident generals. Tonight, we meet a queen. A warrior queen. A queen who looked at the most powerful man in the world, Cyrus the Great, and basically said, "Try me," and then decapitated him. Yes, really. History is wild. But before we get into blood-soaked sand and royal vengeance, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you actually enjoy what I'm doing here. This isn't a hostage situation. And leave a comment telling me where you're listening from and what time it is. Somehow, it's always 2 a.m. somewhere. And honestly, stories like this make perfect sense at 2 a.m. When your brain is tired enough to say, sure, a queen chopping off a king's head? That tracks. Now dim those lights. Turn on a fan for that soft, white noise battlefield breeze. Sink into your pillow. Wrap yourself in blankets like you're preparing for ancient combat, and tuck your feet in, just to avoid imaginary toe-sniffing rats. Not historically accurate, but emotionally important. Let's pause for a second. Have you ever wondered what life actually felt like in the ancient world? No modern conveniences, no comfortable shoes, no iced coffee, just endless sand, questionable hygiene, and warriors who thought bathing was optional. Did battles really look like the movies? How did people survive long campaigns with armor made of metal, food made of sadness, and leaders who loved dramatic speeches more than logistics? Tonight, we're taking a slow, sleepy journey into the world of Tomyris, the queen of the Massagetai, a confederation of steppe tribes who ate hardship for breakfast and washed it down with fermented milk. These people didn't flap in the breeze. They didn't write poetry about sunsets. They wrestled, hunted, rode horses like they were born glued to them, and developed the kind of grit that makes modern gym workouts look like toddler playtime. And Cyrus the Great, the man who created one of the largest empires the world had ever seen? Well, he thought conquering Tomyris would be just another day at the office. He was mistaken. Very, very mistaken. But don't worry, we're not going to rush into battles or severed heads. Not yet. We're easing into this history like slipping into a warm bath. If that bath smelled faintly of dust, leather, campfire smoke, and questionable diplomatic decisions. Tonight's story isn't just about violence. It's about pride, culture, miscommunication, and the unstoppable power of a determined woman who refused to bow to an empire. It's about the small choices that shape enormous consequences, the strange humor of ancient politics, and the way history loves surprising us when we least expect it. So, settle in. Let your breathing slow. Let your mind drift into the vast open steppes where horses thunder, queens strategize, and kings learn humility the hard, hard way. Ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. A dusty, dim-lit Wild West saloon. The saloon sits at the edge of a lonely frontier town, where the wind drifts slow across empty streets and dust curls up under the wooden porch boards like a living thing. Inside, the air is thick and hazy, heavy with pipe smoke that hangs in lazy ribbons beneath the rafters. Everything feels muted here, softened by time and the glow of low, golden lamplight that spills across the room like warm molasses. A grimy barkeep stands behind the long wooden counter, wiping it down with a cloth that has seen far better days. His movements are slow, almost meditative, as though he's been doing this same motion every evening for decades. Wiping, turning, wiping again, waiting for a crowd that never truly comes. His shirt is rumpled, his sleeves rolled up, and the dust of the prairie seems permanently embedded into his clothes, his beard, even the lines of his weathered face. You can almost hear the cloth scraping softly against the wood, a kind of quiet rhythm that sets the pace of the entire saloon. Around him, the space is dim and sleepy. Rough, splintered wooden tables sit scattered across the floor, some straight, some crooked, all bearing the scars of countless games of cards, spilled drinks, and long, heated conversations. They look like they might fall apart with one hard thump, yet somehow they've held together through seasons of heat, cold, and wandering travelers seeking a place to rest. The golden lamplight pools around their bases, casting long shadows that stretch across the floor like stretching cats, calm and unhurried. In the far corner, a lone ceiling fan creaks slowly overhead, turning so gently it barely stirs the smoke. The saloon's piano, out of tune, missing a key or two, rests silently against the wall, as if remembering the days when its music filled the room with laughter and dance. Tonight, though, it sits untouched, its once shiny brass pedals dulled by time, almost blending into the shadows. A few empty whiskey glasses sit on the tables, their surfaces cloudy, their rims chipped. They catch the golden light just enough to sparkle faintly, tiny reflections flickering like fireflies. Here and there, old posters cling to the walls, advertisements for traveling shows, notices for cattle auctions, faded wanted signs whose ink has long since bled into the paper. They hang crookedly, barely holding on, like memories refusing to be forgotten. The saloon doors shift with a soft groan each time a breeze slips in from outside. Dust sighs across the wooden floorboards, gathering in corners and swirling under the tables. The entire room seems to breathe, slow in, slow out, as though it is alive with all the stories it has collected. Stories of cowhands fresh off the trail, gamblers hoping luck would break their way, wanderers carrying news from distant towns, and once, long ago, the hushed retelling of a warrior queen from across the world who defied an empire. But tonight the saloon is quiet, almost reverent. The barkeep's cloth moves in steady circles. The lanterns flicker softly, casting waves of warm light that settle over the tables like blankets. The smoke curls upward in thin spirals, joining the shadows high above. There is no hurry in this place, no urgency, just the gentle, dusty patience of a room that has watched generations come and go. And in its dim, golden calm, the listener feels transported. Not to the battlefield of ancient kings or the palace halls of forgotten queens, but to a small, quiet pocket of the Wild West, where time slows, dust settles, and history whispers faintly from the corners. A perfect place for a tale to begin. Chapter 2. Cracked Chalice. Strap in because we're headed to the year 530 BCE, where armies march and confuse scarcity with hospitality. Picture yourself trudging through the dusty remnants of a deserted camp, only to find it brimming with perilously full wineskins. It's like stumbling into an all-you-can-drink party where the punch bowl is suspiciously spiked. And oh boy, does it pack a punch. Now, some of you might be thinking, can I take a nap during this history lesson? Well, dear listeners, you absolutely can. But only if you promise not to snore too loudly. I mean, the warrior elite did enough of that at their feast to stop an invasion. So, dim the lights, curl up somewhere cozy, perhaps with a soft coverlet that still smells of last week's laundry, and let's prep for an adventure that'll have you questioning your own dinner leftovers. What's it like battling enemies who clearly have a flair for irony, like setting traps that are deliciously deceptive? What would you do if you uncovered a camp that smelled like a wine cellar, but was actually top-tier bait for your imminent doom? Would you risk a sip, or would you just shout, "Surprise! It's a bait and switch"? Congratulations. You've just awakened in what could only be described as Cyrus's rustic retreat, where the only thing drier than the bread is the humor of soldiers figuring out who committed the grave sin of forgetting to pack the snacks. Yes, my friend, you've landed right amidst the Masajatai forces, who are, spoiler alert, not here for a picnic. As you take a closer look, here's the scene unfolding in front of you. Cyrus the Great, clad in splendid Persian royal armor that gleams brighter than your future on a Monday, strolls through the deserted camp. The gentle clopping of his horse breaks the eerie silence, while in the distance, the sun sets like a celebrity slipping from the red carpet, taking with it the warmth of the day. It's more dramatic than your aunt's stories at Thanksgiving, and twice as ridiculous. The camp, now surrendered and eerily quiet, echoes with the remnants of a lavish feast gone wrong. Vines hang sorrowfully, crowned with abandoned wineskins just waiting for someone to have one last, surprise sip. It's essentially the scene of a frat party gone horribly awry, with empty skins lying about like modern-day hangover excuses. And much like a college student left alone with a credit card, the Masajitai forces made the grave mistake of letting their guard down for just a wee bit too long. Cyrus stands at the edge of this precipice of potential disaster, tasting victory prematurely, maybe even pondering how to impress his followers with a newfound culinary adventure. Should I brew the finest wine or plunder a rival's pantry? When your armor is more ornate than useful, one must figure out how to make a name. Plus, dare we say, establish a legacy, one bottle at a time. But let's talk about the aroma. What you actually smell wafting lazily through the camp is a strange blend of robust aged wine seasoned with the unusual musk of panic and half-eaten lamb, which might as well be signing its own resignation letter. It's enough to make any self-respecting warrior second-guess whether they've read the fine print in their battle agreement. Yup, invasion expected and no refunds on the wine supply. And then there's Cyrus himself, handsome in his unyielding glory, sneaking suspicious glances at the fine provisions left behind. Is it too much to hope I might win over the camp snacks and leave my enemies bewildered by my sheer charm? He might think, twirling an imaginary mustache, befitting of a mustachioed villain one might meet on a Saturday morning cartoon. But the gamble of getting cozy with the table of plush provisions involves potent stakes. He's wandering into a classic trap, a perfect echo of all those times we've walked into friends' houses half expecting a cozy invitation, only to find ourselves caught in an awkward game of charades. The massage tea said wine was served. Did no one mention it would be at a battlefield? As ominous shadows begin to dance with the flickering campfire ahead, the energy changes, transitioning from wonderfully intoxicating to dreadfully suspicious. Suddenly, every creaking horse hoof, every rustle of the dry grass morphs into a cheeky reminder that, while it may now be happy hour, you might just be attending the last rendezvous before calamity strikes. The mass exodus of the massage tea forces was deliberate, the kind of intentional withdrawal that would make even the most astute retreat planners blush with pride. They've left the wine behind? Do they not realize this is how legends are born? You'd imagine Cyrus thinks, perhaps a tad too optimistic. As he strolls into this abandoned utopia, you start to wonder, is this a brilliant plan or merely an example of poor life choices? My kingdom for a grape, and perhaps a market stall for armorless combatants digested incorrectly? Yes, being a conqueror might seem glamorous, until you remember the time you accidentally left the party but not the snacks. In the eerie stillness, the only sound is the distant cry of crows, likely cawing, "Well, good luck with that." And you think to yourself, the irony of a king pleasing his army with wine, only to find himself swimming with the fishes, is just another classic tale from history's biggest bloopers reel. Ah, the complexities of conquest, dear listener. While Cyrus thinks he's sailing straight into the lap of luxury, perhaps the only true luxury he will find is the sound of his own hubris, crashing down faster than a poorly set dinner table. And just like that, the scene fades, leaving you with the gentle hum of history, patiently waiting to be unwrapped as you drift off into slumber, dreaming of battles, wine, and the perils of overconfidence. Sweet dreams await. Chapter 3. Stew and Survival in 530 BCE. Imagine this. You're in the dusty heart of 530 BCE, sitting near a flickering campfire that's valiantly struggling against the night. The air is thick with the scent of wood smoke and something else, a culinary mystery that vaguely resembles the inside of a boot. Before you, a weathered cowboy, face crusted with trail dust that could double as a facial scrub, is stirring a bowl of thick, brown stew. Its consistency is similar to a mix between glue and regret, with the jaw-dropping aroma of survival hanging in the air. Let's ponder this stew for a moment. You know those viral culinary videos where the host dramatically flips an artisanal omelet or flambés a fancy dish? Now imagine replacing that delightful egg with a hodgepodge of whatever critters wandered too close to the pot. Dinner, served with a side of adventure, was surely the motto of the day. If the leftovers are anything like last week's stew, well, you're actually having upcycled stew for the third night in a row, and no one is particularly pleased about it. As your cowboy friend stirs, his spoon clanks against the bowl like it's trying to escape this culinary nightmare. You wonder, how much more water do you need to dilute the flavors? Enough to flood the camp? Would that make it a soup, or just an existential crisis with a little salt? And oh, the flavors. Imagine combining the essence of damp earth with a hint of despair, truly a dish for the ages. You'd think the ancient Greeks would have something to say about it, but it seems this cowboy is living his best life, euphorically distanced from the concept of health codes, which, let's be honest, likely hadn't been invented yet. What's in this stew? You wonder aloud, half excited and half horrified. Is there a chance it's actually from a past conversation? Not with a cow, but a long-lost cousin whose bygone last words were, "Find me in the soup." Maybe it's cooked with the same enthusiasm as a modern-day home cook attempting to impress their guests with an experimental dish they saw online. "Tastes like home," the cowboy remarks with a grin that could launch 1,000 ships, mostly because it'd probably scare the ships away. You squint skeptically, wondering if he's equally fond of blending gravel and cactus into smoothies, but you've also accepted the fact that dietary choices in this time are nothing if not adventurous. After all, modern culinary fads would call it foraged ingredients. Here, it's just Tuesday. In this dusty era, you're acutely aware of a trio of essential survival skills: hunting, gathering, and avoiding that one guy who insists on telling you about his new knitting hobby during dinner. Maybe ancient people were just like us, layered in quirks and downright oddities, stuck between the necessity of survival and making do with what they could find. Whether that was half-hearted affection for their neighbor's livestock or a love affair with mystery stew. And while you contemplate dinner, the dark night invites a whole different set of challenges. Is it too late in history to start a cult movement around the crusade for better soup? Do we need more than a single cow for a complete meal? You could just picture it, a cartoonish uprising where an army of disgruntled townsfolk band together to overthrow the tyrannical pot of mystery stew. Imagine chanting, "We want flavor. We want flavor," as they march on the cowboy's humble abode, pitchforks in one hand and spoons in the other, fantasizing about greens, spices, followed closely by a resolution for no more overcooked, grim fare. As the fire crackles and the stars twinkle like judgmental eyes from above, you swirl your own bowl of stew, half-heartedly optimistic. The silence is punctuated only by the crunching of the cowboy's boots on the dirt as he wanders off to find more of whatever has decided to opt into this culinary delight. Suddenly, a realization strikes. Why does he seem so ready to embrace this stew as a culinary masterpiece while you, just a casual observer, feel the profound urge to pluck a nearby shrub and start munching on it? Perhaps this is the secret of survival from antiquity. Embrace what you have, even if it makes your taste buds file for emergency unemployment. As you drift off to sleep, let these absurd thoughts ease you into slumber. The cowboys of yore didn't haunt the nightmares of culinary classes. They simply stirred their pots with laughter and grit. You can't make this up, but as their stew added flavor to their survival, allow your dreams to add flavor to your night. a stirring blend of absurdity and gentle slumber. Chapter 4. A Pot for the Ages. Let's take a moment to consider the culinary heart of our humble abode. Our bubbling cast iron pot sitting over an unkempt fire pit that looks like it has seen its fair share of both victory and defeat. If cooking over an open flame was an Olympic sport, this pot would have a medal made from leftover beans and tears. And yes, it's absolutely overflowing like your Aunt Mabel at all-you-can-eat buffet night, just exchanging the honor of a buffet line for an overlooked ladle, because who are we kidding? In 530 BCE, moderation wasn't in anyone's vocabulary, unless it involved the number of times you re-warmed your leftovers. The aroma wafting from the pot can only be described as rustic, because, let's be real, if you call it disastrous, that could trigger an existential crisis for your cowboy friend attempting to assemble an edible meal. It's as if the beans have taken a daring leap into the salty abyss, bringing everything they've absorbed during their slow, tragic boil. Dirt, old cowboys' regrets, and a hint of something that might just be yesterday's stew, together into one glorious, and I mean glorious, mess of flavor. In this moment, you can almost hear the beans whispering, "We might have peaked too soon, buddy." Now, close your eyes and take a deep breath as you imagine the sound of beans pinging against the sides of a pot. A sound much like the jukebox you'd find at a dive bar, only the songs are all off-key, and the artists are basically fermented beans having an identity crisis. As our friend stirs one more time with fervor, it's like he's conducting a symphony of survival, each stir a dramatic point in the tale of civilization. If you look closely, you might catch a playful spark in his eye. Whether it's madness or creativity is up for debate, but the cowboy seems convinced that this pot is the gateway to culinary fame. "This stew, folks," he gestures dramatically, "is a recipe passed down from great bean ancestors. Legend has it that they survived countless pot challenges and emerged victorious." The metaphorical spotlights shine down on this man's culinary dreams. Nobody has the heart to tell him that the last great meal was also last month's adventure of how to clean a pot without really trying. How do we even know these beans aren't some sacred concoction, you ask, totally on board with the cowboy's eccentricities? Are we talking magic beans? Like, do they hold the secrets of the universe? He laughs heartily, his laugh echoing off the wooden walls of the saloon kitchen, in that delightful way only the vague scent of burnt grass and unidentifiable meaty bits can inspire. "You think these beans are going to reveal the philosophical quandaries of existence?" he asks, grinning through a mouthful of hope, and perhaps a trace of something that resembles yesterday's mystery meat. "Well, I hate to break it to you, but there. Just good old pintos with a flair for drama." As you ponder the likelihood of a bean having a flair for anything beyond being somewhat chewy, you're struck by another thought. Who the heck knew about essential cooking skills back in 530 BCE? Did they hold communal cooking classes where the only curriculum involved boil until unrecognizable, or add mystery liquid until it smells less like despair? What was the hashtag for that culinary moment anyway? Medieval munchies? When life gives you beans? The raw brutality of this kitchen environment is juxtaposed against the strange camaraderie it fosters. It's a lot like a modern potluck on Mystery Wednesday. Everyone brings their questionable dinner leftovers, and at the end, you all just pretend you love it because it's a matter of survival and friendship. You can almost hear ancient friends huddled around, making awkwardly supportive remarks like, No, this is much better than last week's tripe stew." The truth, however, is best left unvoiced. The fire crackles, sending embers flying like tiny fireflies on a mission to escape this cloud of culinary tragicomedy. If you're hallucinatively blissful, it's not because of the beans, but rather the sheer absurdity of trusting completely questionable food choices. After all, in this time, the question isn't whether this soup is good for your health, it's, does it keep you alive long enough to see another day of beans? A true survival masterpiece rather than a cooking disaster. Maybe the true legacy of these moments, this steadfast, bubbling pot, steadfast like your great-aunt Gertrude during holiday dinners, is that, despite the chaotic kitchen backdrop, everyone somehow manages to find joy and camaraderie, and, dare I say, a shared love for questionable food. So, as you slip into a contemplative slumber, imagine this kitchen, a tapestry woven from the threads of absurdity and warmth. May your dreams be draped in the unexpected delight of weird culinary adventures and the resilience of banding together over pots of beans that might just be a reflection of your life, full of chaos, laughter, and, yes, hopefully less mystery than today's feast. Chapter 5. The Cuisine of the Conquerors. Let's talk about breakfast. Specifically, the kind of breakfast that would make you question why exactly you chose to be an emperor's soldier in the year 530 BCE. If you've ever woken up and groggily decided that a slice of stale toast would suffice, just imagine that. But instead of a comforting loaf, you're faced with a thick slab of salted pork so robust, it looked like it could enter the arena itself. Honestly, it's the kind of meat that threatens you with a fight if you dare try to slice into it. Picture this chunk of meat, with streaks of white and red like a battle flag announcing its dominance, laying next to a stale biscuit that has the consistency of chalk. This biscuit could double as an effective doorstop, should your home require cobbling together some medieval charm. It's as if the baker had an existential crisis and decided that instead of rising, the dough should settle down and take up a life of quiet despair. Now, as you wonder why breakfast should feel like a lost episode of a cooking show gone terribly wrong, allow me to immerse you in the delightful world of the warrior's table. You can practically hear the meat sizzling. Okay, more like aggressively seizing the moment as it cooks, or should I say, attempts to cook, over the flames, which barely flicker in response. If cooking was a competition, this slab of pork would win the trophy for most likely to generate national concerns about health. Your trusty fellow soldier across the table leans in conspiratorially, too committed to the enormity of his goal, to notice that the meat's fat glistens with the kind of sheen that feels both royal and slightly alarming. "Did you know," he whispers, eyeing the pork like it's a Shakespearean villain, "that Cyrus the Great himself once had a run-in with a warrior queen who demonstrated that slightly salty could quickly translate into a historical declaration of war?" You nod, half in awe and half in disbelief, while barely concealing your own desperate attempt at not thinking about the chewiness of your breakfast. A queen decapitating Cyrus the Great? Now that's a good story for the campfire, or an effective method of avoiding breakfast altogether. As you take a tentative bite, you realize this isn't just any food. This is meat that has been salted with the pride of 1,000 ancestors. Salt pork was the perishable celebrity of its day, making it one of the prized choices for warriors heading off to battle. While it may not have come with a 3-course meal of ambrosia, it did come with the distinctive smell of bravery seasoned with preservation. And there you sit, surrounded by your fellow warriors who might not have bathed recently, or ever, all eager to fuel up for another day of excitement, immersive glories, and physically uncertain encounters with local armies, primarily because they heard someone was displeased with their latest tax. Breakfast, as it turns out, is less about fancy plates and more about the bonds you form over questionable food choices and utterly wrongful decisions. He wonders if you'd become a warrior if it merely required maintaining a meat-based diet and sparring with biscuits. It's like being handed a hero's journey, but without the appendix detailing the nutritional downsides. Fueled by this meal, you ponder if there's any warrior handbook from 530 BCE that features helpful chapters on what not to eat when setting off to defeat the enemies, or perhaps how to lead an army on a stomach full of conflict and billowed pork. But alas, breakfast wasn't about counting calories or reflecting on if this whole setup was an ill-fated episode of warriors' cooking disasters. It was about preparing to potentially face your destiny, armed with nothing but courage and a plate of suspiciously seasoned porcine delights. Picture the intense silence, broken only by exaggerated munching and grunting. A battle of sorts, as everyone struggles to chew their way through meals reminiscent of teeth-sculpted rock faces. Each forkful brings a collective chewing chorus reminiscent of a high school band's first rehearsal. If there's one consensus this meal makes clear, it's that everyone at this table has come to terms with the fact that they are warriors. And this food only slightly resembles the wonders of the culinary world. And while your mouth fights a worthy duel with salt and fibers, consider how different life would be if you traded the training swords for cooking utensils instead, hosting weekly feasts where the primary rule was simply, don't choke on the salt. Picture elaborate culinary discussions around how many different ways salt pork can wear its flavor hat. Do we roast, slice, deep fry in shame? In those moments, you come to a startling truth. Life in 530 BCE wasn't just fighting for land or glory. It was about triumphing over the horror of breakfast and forming friendships over the remnants of cured meats that had seen better days. Or, in the case of that unfortunate biscuit, better centuries. So take that moment, and as you chew through the absurdity of this era, it quietly dawns on you. Sometimes, survival counts more than gourmet. And today, that salty hunk of meat just might be the key to your next great adventure. If you don't lose a tooth first. Chapter 6. The Java Adventures of Our Warrior Ancestors. Let's talk about the delightful morning ritual we've all come to cherish, coffee. But before we slide right into our beloved caffeinated concoction, let's consider what coffee would be like for a soldier preparing for battle in 530 BCE. Picture it, if you will. A steaming tin cup of black, potent cowboy coffee sitting precariously on the edge of a rough-hewn wooden table, the kind that has seen more spills than a toddler at snack time. Your brew sizzles in a cup that might as well have been forged in the fires of Mount Doom. It's so dark, it could easily double as ink for the next grand lost epic, or the official ledger of how many loaves of stale bread you managed to avoid consuming. A flickering lantern bathes the scene in a warm, soft glow, dancing like a comical little sprite in the cold desert morning. The chill in the air feels like an overzealous ice bath, sneaking right past your armor in an attempt to ruin your entire day before it even starts. And here's the kicker. In the bottom of that cup, visible grounds will sadly greet you like the remains of your latest bad decision. Ever seen the aftermath of a disaster on a battlefield? Well, this is coffee's attempt at a final stand. Surprise, the grounds say, as they cling to the edges and stare up at you, daring you to embrace the gritty truth of your morning. As you reach for your trusty cup of confusion, a nagging realization creeps in. You might just be one sip away from a complete existential crisis. Was it the coffee, or the idea that warriors in this era would perhaps wake up and oafishly contemplate their life choices, not to mention their breakfast options? Have you met their morning dilemma? It's like waking up and remembering that you forgot to set your coffee maker before going to bed. Oh, wait. That's history too, isn't it? Now, consider a dimly lit tent bustling with soldiers, alongside the faint sounds of war drums, echoes of clashing swords, and, naturally, a lot of complaining about the lack of quality coffee. Nobody ever really takes time to appreciate the fact that while some were swinging swords, others were gathering wild beans, wondering if they would be revolutionary or just plain revolting. "Hey, you there!" a fellow soldier may call out, looking over to the one preparing coffee. "What do you call this brew? Is it horse sweat? Or perhaps dragon tears?" "Just a little bit of bravery mixed with willpower," comes the reply. And honestly, can you blame him? When your armor weighs about 9 million pounds, give or take some oxen, Sacrificing a solid breakfast for the sake of this potent potion might not seem like such a bad idea after all. What if you could caffeine fuel your battles? Instead of slashing swords, you'd be doing a tango with your coffee cup, darting in and out of dance while trying not to spill the required motivation all over the battlefield. Henceforth, battlegrounds should absolutely include a few coffee stalls. Forget catapults. Let's build espresso machines and watch the enemy's morale crumble under the weight of unfulfilled caffeine dreams. Now let's transition into the wide, wild world of ancient warriors and their coffee adventures. Imagine, if you can, the delightful clumsiness of a soldier trying to handle a hot cup of coffee while also wearing a helmet that seems to have been designed by someone who had never actually seen a head before. The helmet is likely so bulky it resembles something a farmer would use while milking cows, the only difference being the occasional one slightly too enthusiastic battle cheer. As you strap that absurd headgear on, you take a guarded sip, half expecting it to taste like burnt wood chips and strong opinions. And there it is, creeping into your senses. "It's like drinking liquid courage," one soldier shouts, although you know in your heart he might be slightly misguided. Because we all know that with every sip imbibed in the name of battle, you run the risk of experiencing that unholy caffeine high that sends adrenaline levels skyrocketing, while your brain adamantly insists you can conquer the entire Persian Empire. Field marshal outfit be damned. "Charge!" someone inevitably yells, lifting their coffee mug instead of their sword. "I feel incredibly motivated. I might even write a sonnet about the beauty of the desert and its aggressive breeze." And this is the moment when caffeine-infused folly reigns supreme. You witness two warriors, now inexplicably ready to duel like they're in a very poorly animated cartoon segment from the future. "How about a duel with mugs instead?" they shout, raising their cups in a terrible cheer while the others pause, perhaps feeling that intense mixture of confusion and caffeine-driven enthusiasm. Who knew the morning coffee ritual would turn into a new Olympic sport? Picture that scene fading into the open skies of the desert. Coffee cups could symbolize camaraderie just as much as clanging swords. Yet here you are, nestled in this cacophony that is both tragic and mildly absurd. This coffee situation is about as historically accurate as it gets, except for the fact that everyone still seems slightly lost, unsure of whether to battle or brew another round. And so, nursing that deep cup of belief as you plunge deeper into this absurd time, you must ponder, will the coffee really give you the strength to conquer? Or was it all just a handful of grounds leading to questionable decisions and more confusion than clarity? In this whirlwind of ancient warfare, just know that sometimes survival means being fueled by the most ridiculous attitudes, especially when it comes to morning brews rising to combat the day ahead. Let's see how it all plays out with our next warriors, who are gearing up for far more than just breakfast, more than just... Chapter 7. The Sizzling Saga of Beef and Battle. Hey guys, welcome back to our quirky journey through mildly interesting history. Tonight, we're diving into a world as hot and steamy as a summer day in the desert. Imagine seasoning your beef with a sprinkle of chaos and that special ingredient known as impending doom. That's right, we find ourselves among warriors, not just battling each other but wrestling with their appetites over a tantalizing, sizzling slab of meat. But before we plunge into the fire and smoke of this ancient barbecue showdown, let's gather around the virtual campfire. Perhaps you've wondered, what did ancient cooks do to charm a warrior's palate? Or maybe you've asked yourself how one even went about throwing a perfectly acceptable dinner party in the midst of a raging battle. Oh, and have you ever considered that the concept of medium rare might be considered optimistic when you're personally overseeing the cooking of the Emperor of Persia's dinner? So, dim those lights, cozy up, and prepare your senses for a culinary quest amidst the chaos of 530 BCE, where a cook in a soot-covered apron stood watch, intently focused on a tough slab of beefsteak sizzling away over an open, roaring flame. Imagine this. You're nestled in an ancient military encampment. The sun makes its grand descent, casting a golden hue across the scene. There's this cook, let's call him Gorgonzola, because food names should always encourage a little laughter. Gorgonzola stands with a grin that you'd usually see on a kid who's just found a secret stash of candy. He's got that fire in his eyes, partially due to enthusiasm and mostly because he's trying not to singe off his eyebrows as he hovers perilously close to the flames. The sound of meat sizzling, hot enough to make even a llama blush, reverberates in the air. There's lard sizzling away like it has something to prove, producing a smell so delightful it could practically knock an enemy soldier off his feet. You know the feeling when you walk past a bakery right before dinner? Well, this is akin to several arrows being shot straight at your sense of smell, but instead they land in your heart and scream, "Why can't this be your everyday life?" The beef, seasoned with whatever scraps of life the cook could forage, a dash of salt, a hint of regret, and possibly a few lovingly discarded goat hairs, makes its stunning debut. Gorgonzola flips it with the finesse of a battle-hardened warrior, though honestly, he's got more in common with a nervous juggler than a seasoned chef. Now, back to our cook friend. There must be a history behind Gorgonzola's culinary skill set. Perhaps he started as a lowly bean counter, but accidentally landed in the kitchen when he confused a marching order with a craving for baked beans? As he watches the meat bubble and hiss, his mind wanders back to the days of yore, when he would forage for herbs, as one might forage, for compliments in a world plagued by harsh realities and, frankly, a lot of bad hair days. With each moment, the sizzle intensifies, a sound reminiscent of 1,000 tiny protests from the cow's family. Across the camp, warriors begin to gather, their stomachs growling louder than any battle trumpet. There's something irresistibly comic about a group of fearless soldiers nearly frothing at the mouth while collectively trying to remember they're not in a brawl, but a buffet line. "Hey, Gorgonzola!" one soldier bellows, drooling like a golden retriever on a hot summer day. "Did you summon the gods with that aroma, or is it just the meat talking?" "There's magic in these cow parts, my friend," Gorgonzola laughs back, as if critiquing a modern-day cooking show. "It's probably going to take more than a sprinkle of fairy dust to win this battle, but you might just conquer lunch." Every glorious flip of the meat is matched by somewhat theatrical gestures, the kind you'd only see at a cooking class gone horribly wrong. Gorgonzola prances around as if the pan were a stage, and he, the main act, juggling his responsibilities as an ancient chef, soldier, and the accidental comedian of the culinary battlefield. The sizzling beef crescendos into a concert of flavors, almost as if the warriors themselves were singing an ode to the glory of good grub. You can almost hear their stomachs harmonizing in eerie sympathy. Yet, every now and then, someone shouts out a ridiculously profound question in the midst of the chaos. Should we even be eating during a war? "Why not?" peeps Gorgonzola in between flipping. "A proper meal is what keeps our warrior spirits alive. Plus, if I didn't get my fair share of battle-fatigue beef, what would I even munch on while pondering life's deeper meanings? Leaves?" In the distance, you can hear the faint sounds of soldiers sharpening swords and the occasional animal shout, but the star of the evening is definitely this steak. Gorgonzola, caught up in a world of beef and bravado, presents the pièce de résistance with a flourish befitting a royal dinner guest. You can see the steam rising like a battle cry, a scent so intoxicating it could distract the most fervent archers from shooting arrows. Now pause and picture yourself biting into this succulent miracle. The beef melts in your mouth like it knows it's already conquered your heart, and you wonder what sorcery allowed Gorgonzola to create such a mouthful of joy amidst an undertone of chaos. Of course, the cooking show would have to go on. Gorgonzola swiftly moves on to the next task, preparing beans that seem equally important. Hang tight. We're just getting warmed up, and there's plenty more ancient fun to come. From vows to be up early for a morning battle to trepidation about dinner conversations that revealed too much about your intentions on the battlefield. History is cooking up something delectable and absurd. Stay with me. We'll dive deeper into the mind-bending world of ancient eccentricities, one sizzling adventure at a time. Chapter 8: Cornbread Conquests and Molasses Meltdowns. Hey guys, welcome back to our delightful jaunt into the mildly interesting corners of history. Tonight, as we slip into a world richer than the aroma of freshly baked bread, we find ourselves treating the taste buds to a culinary escapade that is literally dripping with history. Imagine, if you will, a warm, crumbly wedge of cornbread being generously drizzled with thick, dark molasses, like liquid gold being poured by a kindly giant with a sweet tooth. But before we dive into this sticky sweetness, let's take a moment to ponder your new persona. Are you ready for the challenge of dining like a true warrior? Ever considered that warriors like to snack, too? What would happen if a mighty queen walked into a banquet and decided to decapitate someone just for stealing the last slice of cornbread? What might that look like in today's world? Like waiting for your latte at the local cafe, just to overhear someone plot against the last piece of lemon meringue pie? So, dim those lights, roll yourself into a cozy blanket burrito, and get ready to travel back to 530 BCE, where you awaken in an astonishingly vibrant world. Congratulations! You've just woken up in the land of classical antiquity, where cornbread isn't just a side dish, it's a weapon of choice. Let's paint the scene. The sun is slowly reclining in the sky, casting a golden glow that dances over fields ripe with corn and the kind of scents that make your heart do a little jig. Think of being wrapped in warm hugs from home, but spiced up with the gentle sound of village chatter. You hear the rhythmic flapping of farmers working, planting, and harvesting, like something out of a lovely historical musical. Now let's talk about that cornbread. You find yourself in the bustling kitchen of a banqueting hall, a place where the aroma is so welcoming you might consider moving in. Picture it: sturdy wooden tables groaning under the weight of the feast, while a cook, let's call him Bertie Butterfingers, because food names should certainly brighten your day, works with a graceful sloppiness that could rival a toddler with a paintbrush. Bertie's confidence could convince even the most discerning palate that he's crafting the essence of flavor from pure magic, though this may be partly due to an adventurous side dish of "what on earth is that?" scattered around the main course. "It's fine cuisine, everyone," he proclaims, and you can't help but wonder if you should trust him or not as he splashes cornbread batter. Oh wait, that's not just the batter. One could call it a unique technique all over the floor. In this kitchen, there is a grand pot bubbling away, the contents unsure whether they're a stew or preparations for a slow, painful experiment in taste bud agony. The clattering of pots echoes as Bertie finishes up. Excuse him if he's missing a few fingers. That's just what happens when you take your cooking seriously and have a penchant for clumsiness. As the kitchen fills with the sweet scent of baked cornbread, you narrow your eyes as the first batch emerges from the oven. It's golden brown, warm enough to melt a heart, or at least a pair of overly ambitious eyebrows. Just as you swoop in to grab a piece, Bertie slathers dark, sticky molasses all over it with a ladle the size of a small child. And don't worry, he just calls it generous. It dribbles down the sides like a sweet waterfall, hopeful for eager mouths below. "Just what you need to face the day," Bertie declares enthusiastically, though it sounds a tad too much like a battle cry. You can't help but think how this could either forge a heartwarming memory or send you on the direct path to a sticky disaster. With a careful balance of patience and excitement, you take a bite. The flavors explode like a minor historical event, every exquisite taste equivalent to a small riot of flavors and well-curated laughter. The cornbread is soft, light, and somehow filling, while the molasses oozes pleasure, offering a consistency that makes you imagine you're experiencing the very taste of tranquility, or the result of someone's determination to make you reconsider all previous breakfast experiences. And while you're in this whirlpool of flavors, you can't resist the urge to watch the distant warriors engaging in, well, perhaps less than noble pursuits. Is that a soldier trying to sneak away to get seconds? Good luck with that. These warriors are not known for their subtlety. Imagine a barbarian army battling over the last crust of cornbread, all the while competing for the title of most impressive spoon-catching skills. Yet, in the spirit of absurdity that knots through history, what if a queen entered the hall? Picture a regal warrior queen striding in with the confidence of a lioness who has just consumed her 5th cup of coffee. She holds her sword, demands the attention of her MPs, molasses providers, and with a flick of the wrist, decides that anybody who dares question her cornbread mechanics might just have their head served on a wooden platter, garnished with a dash of irony. As you chew, the scene unfolds into a comedic tableau with all the elegance of a Renaissance fair gone wrong, while you contemplate how utterly delightful, yet absurd, this amalgamation of culinary combat and warrior etiquette is. As the laughter erupts around you, it's clear no one is immune to the charm, or the danger, of cornbread. So there you sit, you, like the bold queen, pondering if your dinner might just become the stuff that legends are made of, or at the very least, a blessedly humorous anecdote around the communal fire pit. Keep those thoughts simmering, for we have much more absurdity and delight to explore in this ancient world. Buckle up, because our history journey isn't even halfway done. There are regal escapades, accidental recipes, and more sticky situations ahead. Chapter 9. Ötzi's cool factor and the puzzling patterns of a prehistoric-style icon. Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we're stepping into a world that's more frozen than last Monday's leftovers, the chilly reign of Ötzi the Iceman. Yes, we're about to take a frosty plunge into the past, where your average day involved wearing animal skins and avoiding discovery by some very confused hunters. So, get cozy, dim those lights, and perhaps grab a blanket, because we're about to journey back to 530 BCE, a time when life was as uncertain as the direction of a goat's next sneeze. Are you ready? Have you ever woken up and whispered to yourself, how could I possibly combine the aesthetic values of my local tattoo parlor with an ice cap? Or, why can't I ever find my favorite wool tunic and avoid the bears? If so, you're in luck. Ever wondered if Ötzi had a skincare routine? Or if he just relied on the occasional fruit roll-up derived from ancient berries? Did he have his own Ask Ötzi column, where he advised on fashion decisions over mammoth meat? So many mysteries. This frozen fellow has left us with a legacy that's sure to chill your spine while simultaneously cracking you up. Congratulations. You've just woken up in the chilly Alps, 530 BCE. And let me tell you, it's not all it's cracked up to be. As you take in the scene, you shiver almost instantly. The world around you looks like a paleo Instagram feed gone wrong. Icy blues, crunchy white snowflakes, and breath visible like a fog machine at a medieval party. Every step you take crunches ominously underfoot, like a poorly timed sound effect in a suspense movie. But what's that? In the near distance, you spot a figure, Ötzi himself, the most famous frozen man in history, and he's less glacial beacon of hope and more, well, let's say, prehistoric hipster. Decked out in layers of animal skins stitched together with the elegant precision of a toddler's art project, Ötzi struts past you like the world's most dedicated fashionista, taking on the Icy Peaks collection. White fur mixed with chunks of leather? Color me impressed. Is that an ancient sock, or is that a statement piece? You simply can't tell. As you give Ötzi the once-over, you notice the faint tattoos etched into his mummified skin. A carbon line here, a dot there. Like someone thought it would be adorable to give him an Ice Age equivalent of a modern sleeve tattoo. Perhaps they serve a purpose we don't fully understand, but let's imagine for a moment. Did Ötzi have a secret tattoo appointment with the local cave artist? I can picture it now. Just a quick touch-up on my back, and could you make it less bear claw and more Abstract bird dance? Now, let's ponder the day-to-day challenges of our friend Ötzi, a man whose wardrobe choices likely involved some serious decision fatigue. If he wasn't ransacking stores for the latest trends or, hunting them down, skinning them, and waiting for them to dry in a chilly breeze, what on earth was he doing? Did the Iceman have to navigate tricky social gatherings with a bunch of other hunters and gatherers? Imagine him casually whispering to his buddy while picking herbs, "I just can't decide what goes better with these bison steaks, fear or fortitude?" Speaking of navigating society, how did Ötzi handle the highs and lows of interpersonal relationships? Did he play a game of will they, won't they with his cave companions, sharing awkward moments and glances while simultaneously dodging arrows from rival tribes? Ah, the classic standoff. But wait, is that an arrow or a spear? Exciting. Maybe they had ice fishing parties where they showed off their big catches from the frozen lake, ultimately leading to invigorating discussions about who can cook the best cave stew. But all flirting aside, what did a morning routine look like for this fellow? Picture Ötzi waking up and pondering serious questions like whether to bathe in the icy brook or just scrape the frost off his beard like a medieval ice sculptor. The man had priorities. Perhaps he would choose the former, leading him to a quick splash in the cold water that truly wakes you up better than any coffee ever could. And oh, the breakfast. On his plate of prehistoric chic, a selection of nuts, berries, and some breakfast meat that might have been a critical part of the eat before it eats you philosophy. He'd be looking at his food like, "This, my friends, is the 530 BCE breakfast of champions," as if any champion had tried to wrestle a woolly mammoth and just needed a little protein boost. The cold, you see, wasn't just an obstacle. It was a way of life, as unavoidable as your neighbor borrowing your best mixing bowl and never returning it. Surviving an icy morning meant layering up, being fashionable, and mentally preparing for another day in this icy paradise, where the flavor of life was literally cooked by the elements. So while Ötzi made strides through the snow, leaving barely preserved footprints that archaeologists would later fawn over, you can almost hear him muttering to himself, "Well, at least I'm warm, relatively speaking. And did you see my classically chic tattoos? Let the snow never melt that one away." And as you witness Ötzi back at work, do remember that in a different time, long before likes and shares, he was the epitome of trending. With a little laughter, a touch of humor, and a lot of frozen resolve, Ötzi lived on in legacy, daring us all to be as cool as the history we hold. Chapter 10. The Inked Priestess and Her Quest for Cosmic Clarity. Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight we're diving into something hotter than the last slice of pizza, ancient Egypt, where the eyeliner is thicker than the Nile and the hieroglyphs don't bother pretending they aren't just fancy doodles. We're about to unravel the life of an Egyptian priestess, not your average pyramid architect, but a vibrant, inked warrior woman slinging symbolism like they're going out of style. So, grab your imaginary papyrus, dim those lights, and let the soothing storytelling wash over you like an overzealous Nile flood. But before we go any further, have you ever pondered why so many ancient civilizations felt the need to tattoo themselves into a walking art gallery? What were they thinking when they decided that their skin should be a canvas? Did they look at each other in the morning and say something like, "Ugh, I feel so plain today. Time for another scorpion on my thigh." Or perhaps, "You know what this festival needs? A snake wrapped around my left ankle." Let's not forget the biggest question of all. If they had to explain their body art at parties, how much of an eye roll would that require? Congratulations, you've just woken up in 530 BCE, Cairo style, where the air is scented with incense and possibly the smell of unsupervised cats. As you stretch and attempt to wipe the sand from your eyes, you instantly realize that you're not alone. Standing proudly before you is a priestess, draped in flowing linen, the kind that flutters like a gentle breeze, but might also double as a bedsheet depending on your life choices. She's a fashion icon with a twist, or should I say, a twirl? Her upper thigh and abdomen showcase a bewildering array of geometric tattoos, symbols circling her like a celestial debate in a cosmic book club. What does it all mean? Maybe they represent protection, fertility, and was that a doodle of her cat? Who knows? The best part? Depending on her mood, she might channel the divine powers of fertility while also ensuring that her wardrobe remains stylishly on point, a skill few of us have mastered today. Let's talk about her life. Picture her waking up every morning, her bed made of the softest reeds. Okay, they're still not as comfy as a Tempur-Pedic mattress, but hey, it's not hay. As she rubs the sleep out of her eyes, does she contemplate her very essence? Today I shall spark the cosmic energies of protection, and maybe grab a smoothie on my way to the temple. One can only imagine what debates were had while deciding if the morning elixir should be acacia or perhaps an adventurous blend of fig and hibiscus. Now, mornings might involve a multi-step skincare ritual involving smearing oils that smell so enticing they could charm the very sun into rising just a bit quicker. If only Instagram influencers could see her now, she'd be a viral sensation. Quick, hold that pose with your eye. Of Horus tattoo shining perfectly. Speaking of eye-catching poses, let's dive into her daily activities. Does she skip around the temple holding a block of stone while chanting ancient hymns, or does she occasionally embark on a quest for a missing catamite? Imagine stooping to bring offerings while dodging chickens that have all the intent of expressing their artful disdain. Did they plan to join her at the temple? Sorry, I'm late. A chicken just harassed me. When she finally gets to the temple, you can almost hear the community buzzing like bees around a particularly well-stocked apiary. Priests and priestesses mingle, debating the latest trends and offerings. Did you hear about the new goat sacrifice? It's all the rage. It's like an ancient social media feed, where each highlight reel is a display of your average Egyptian priest's sacrificial game. And then, mid-sentence, imagine the moment when everyone pauses to pay homage to the gods. There's a gathering of characters. Think overworked scribes, aspiring litterateurs, and possibly one guy who insists that his latest hieroglyphs are going to revolutionize communication. Guys, have you ever considered if we added a little more flair to the stork? Maybe a little sequined scarf? Just when you think it couldn't get more entertaining, our fabulous priestess is asked to perform a ritual. The heart of it involves showcasing her body tattoos to invoke fertility and protection in a worshipful dance. Picture her twirling, ink gleaming in the sunlight, while contemplating if she should also work on her TikTok dance moves. Strut, twirl, sashay, all while channeling cosmic energies. For lunch, she might indulge in a medley of dates, lentils, and barley that in no way could ever compete with a greasy cheeseburger, but hey, it's nutritious. The question springs to mind: how did ancient Egyptians handle food poisoning? Did they just cross their fingers and hope for the best? Ah, yes. If the dates are slightly fermented, it's character building. As dusk approaches and our priestess surveys the sunset with a calmness that only a woman who has tamed the universe with her tattoos can possess, she is left with a lingering thought. Will this evening be filled with deep philosophical conversations or a brawl over the last fig? Life is full of seeming paradoxes, isn't it? So, as your mind drifts through the hieroglyphics of her day, you realize that life as an ancient Egyptian priestess, inked and bold, is a riot of style, spirituality, and the occasional chicken showdown. Here's to hoping the sun will rise brighter tomorrow, just as long as someone remembers to invite that chicken to dinner. Now, let's lean back and enjoy the soothing rhythms of history till we fall into a historic slumber ourselves. Chapter 11. The Mighty Warrior with Ink and a Graze. Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight we're embarking on an adventure more colorful than a peacock at a tie-dye convention. The world of ancient warriors. Picture this: a time when people resolved their conflicts with good old-fashioned brawls, and tattoos didn't just signify rebellion, but also acted as a handy reference guide on personal achievements. If you think your family meetings are intense, just wait until you find out how Maori warriors settled their disputes, or, more likely, launched themselves head first into them. So, grab your imaginary spear, dim those lights, and let's get cozy as we slip into the leather-clad sandals of these fierce, inked individuals, bravely navigating a world where your facial artwork might just be the difference between reverence and regrettable remarks. Ever wondered what it was like to have swirls and whorls on your face, all carved by your own hand? How did warriors decide on the design? Did they argue over who got the cooler stencils? And what about the pain? Is there a Maori warrior equivalent of saying, "I'm totally going to regret this tomorrow"? Spoiler, there's no regret when you're the proud bearer of majestic moko tattoos. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 530 BCE, somewhere in ancient New Zealand, now known as Aotearoa, where the air is fresh, the sea is nearby, and the locals are as fierce as a lion with a hairball. As you blink your eyes open, the first thing you see is a Maori warrior, standing proud, muscles gleaming, like a living statue made of sheer determination, and maybe a touch of coconut oil. His face is adorned with intricate moko tattoos, swirling like a cosmic whirlpool of stories and cultural significance. Imagine each swirl carved by hand with a bone tool, each line a tale told in sharp contrast against his sun-kissed skin. You can't help but wonder if any morning, like the one you're experiencing now, he simply woke up and thought to himself, I could really use a fresh design today. Maybe a dragon? How about a cow? Or a cat? A cat seems appropriate, though it might not strike fear in my enemies. As he stands there, you notice the smell of the ocean wafts gently around you, mixing with the freshness of the trees and possibly a hint of seaweed that seems to linger in the air. Does the warrior wear this ink as a badge of courage, or is it merely to keep his local tattoo artist in business? One can only wonder if he was ever tempted to get a tattoo of "Mom" in a heart, perhaps a fashion faux pas in the context of ancient warfare. Let's talk about his morning routine, shall we? Just like any rugged individual, he likely starts with a breakfast that pairs well with the daunting responsibilities of warrior life. Maybe it's some taro, sweet potatoes, or a lovely feast of freshly caught fish. As he savors his meal, does he ever wish there was a mini cereal mascot to endorse it? Come along, children. Let's all munch on our warrior-flavored breakfast hash with a hint of authenticity. After breakfast, it's time for the grand ritual of preparation. You can almost picture him standing in front of his leaf-patterned mirror, practicing various fierce faces. Do you think he tries to roar like a lion, or perhaps gets a little sidetracked by that dictatorial smile he practiced? Maybe he's lost in thought, contemplating whether this is the day he earns a mighty feather for his headpiece, or simply decides to nap instead. It's time for a training session, and oh boy, you can almost hear the sounds of wood clashing as warriors spar in pairs. Imagine them yelling warrior jargon that sounds impressive yet vaguely comical. I challenge you to a duel, but let's keep it non-lethal, all right? I haven't hit my step goal yet. It's an ancient scene, full of energy, pride, and, let's be honest, a hint of anxiety over getting that tattoo ink smudged in the tussle. And there they are, diving into battle routines that resemble a very intense game of tag crossed with an ancient dance party. As our inked warrior trains, does he ever have the fleeting thought, all this sweat, could I turn this into a new workout class? Yogic warriorship, namaste and throw. You can picture them adorned in feathered cloaks and holding remarkably crafted weapons, preparing for a battle that often determines more than who gets to occupy the best fishing spot. But here's where it gets even more amusing. As these warriors parade their ink and pride, do they ever accidentally clash with the local vegetable patch on the way? Excuse me, good sir, I didn't mean to trespass on your sacred squash. As the day drifts lazily toward evening, our mighty warrior pauses to reflect. There he stands, muscles glistening in the waning light, contemplating his tattoos, and the menacing enemies he's faced, while fully aware his biggest opponent today might very well be the neighbor's rogue chicken. He chuckles to himself. Oh, nothing scares me more than Henrietta when she's on a mission. And just like that, between epic training sessions and difficult breakfast choices, you realize that life as a Maori warrior, adorned in ink and brimming with pride, is as comedic as it is fierce. Here's to hoping tomorrow he manages to fend off a foe, along with a very persistent chicken or two. So, as we gently glide back to our peaceful slumber, remember, tomorrow's battles might not be fought with swords, but with kitchen utensils, or at least the fierce determination to keep those tattoos intact. Let's tune into the echoes of history as we drift off, ready to grapple with our dreams.
Chapter 12. The Tattooed Traitor with a Grin.
Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we're diving deep into something even more riveting than your great-uncle's diatribe on potato farming: the peculiar life of a Roman slave in classical antiquity. Picture this: a time when fashion statements included tattoos that literally screamed your backstory, louder than a reality TV show. And a runaway slave was marked with ink as if someone thought to themselves, why not make him look like a walking cautionary tale? If you think your job's demanding, complete with incessant Zoom calls and a never-ending stream of emails, imagine being a slave whose forehead is adorned with a permanent, stigmatizing tattoo saying, "I'm a runaway." But hey, it adds character, right? So kick back, grab your overly expensive throw pillow that you promised you wouldn't put your feet on, and let's settle in as we embark on this historical escapade, complete with intrigue, indignity, and, dare I say, some surprisingly relatable struggles. Now, as we tiptoe through the annals of time, let's consider a few eyebrow-raising questions about our tattooed friend. Did he ever think that branding might not be the best idea for personal branding? Was there an underground movement advocating for more creative body art options? If they're going to mark me, why not just a cute cat or, say, a pizza slice? I mean, that could turn my day around. You know, the real dilemmas of ancient life. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 530 BCE beneath the looming columns of Rome, now a bustling and audacious capital mixed with more scandal than a soap opera. As you blink away the remnants of sleep, the first thing that greets you is the unmistakable sensation of your forehead itching. Ah, yes. Welcome to the club of ex-slaves branded for life, wearing your past like an ugly sweater at a family gathering. You glance into a polished bronze mirror, trying to avoid noticing that tattoo, the one that marks you as not just any runaway slave, but a runaway slave. You have to wonder, how many conversations have started with, "So, what's that on your forehead?" Since small talk was somewhat less sophisticated back then, people were obviously intrigued. Perhaps you'd need a quick-witted response like, "Oh, this? Just a personal fashion choice. You may not have heard of it yet." Let's talk about your morning routine, shall we? It's flashbacks of gladiators and market stalls. You've got the classic Roman breakfast laid out before you. Some days it's hardtack, and on better days, why, it's day-old bread with honey. What a feast, you think as you try to scrub the taste of disappointment from your palate. Ever tried to gnaw on a rock while thinking about your life choices? No? Well, welcome to anti-culinary excellence of ancient Rome. As you sit there, trying to meditate through the chewiness of the bread, you can't help but think about your neighbors, kicking up a ruckus outside. There's a lively group of toga-wearing folks debating the latest gossip, surrounded by flocks of pigeons who obviously think they own the place. It's as if they've turned the streets into a modern-day Twitter feed, but with less character limit and more pecking about personal affairs. You decide it's time to venture out, balancing on the thin line between bravery and absolute dread. Stroll past the markets, where the scent of fresh fish intermingles with the less-than-inviting odors of unwashed humanity. Ah, sweet Rome, where even the fish complain about the lack of showering opportunities, you muse as you dodge a rogue stray cat, oddly resembling a former gladiator you once saw in the arena. Let's pause at the bathhouse, shall we? Arguably, anyone who claims Roman baths were luxurious probably has never had to fend off an overly friendly soap salesman. It's as crowded as a concert on a Friday night, with all manner of folk, some leisurely soaking, while others yell over the sound of splashing water, "You call that a scrub? More like a gentle pat." Should we ever consider the absolute irony of finding camaraderie in tub time? It's like a weekly support group, only with nakedness and dubious hygiene practices. But hey, at least nobody's making a documentary about your life choices. Or are they? Ever paused mid-scrub to think, what if I get marked next? I'd have to add another tattoo. Still a runaway, but now I smell like lavender? In the realm of irony, nothing hammers home the surreal humor of your life quite like communal bath art. As you lather up with soap that's perhaps a bit more fishy than expected, you overhear snippets of conversation. Did you hear the latest about that runaway slave? Apparently, he thinks he can live free without a giant runaway tattoo. Laughter echoes, and you suddenly find yourself contemplating the demise of your dream of tattooing a smiling sun over that ugly branding. Sure, it would be a statement piece. Look at me, I'm both free and can brighten your day. As the water cools and the hustle of the bathhouse continues its hilarious, yet somewhat alarming orchestra, you quietly ponder your future. Does tomorrow hold more adventure? Perhaps a new tattoo design solution? Or the bold idea of turning your marking into art? I could really use a barista friend who might help with a coffee bean on my forehead. They're all the rage, you know? As the sun sets low over Rome, the day drifts into a gentle, contemplative haze. You realize that while life as a tattooed runaway may feel like it's footnoted in a history book, it's undeniably rich with indignity, laughter, and yes, the consolation of community, even if it's perplexing. So, let's rest our weary heads, embrace our quirky pasts, and be thankful that we don't have to sleep on cold, hard stone, unless we somehow find ourselves back in ancient
Rome, of course. So close your eyes and breathe deeply. Tomorrow waits with untold stories just beyond your reach. Chapter 13. The Dragon-Hearted Fireman. Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight, we're voyaging to a time and place so hot you might need a fan, both for the temperature and for combating the sheer audacity of its fashion statements. Yes, we're off to Edo period Japan, where our hero is not your typical sushi chef or samurai, but a fireman with a chest so beautifully tattooed it puts the finest works of art to shame. This is a tale where the gears of history spin faster than a whirling dervish with a caffeine addiction. Now, before we dive in, let's take a moment of zen to ask ourselves some absurd questions. Ever wondered how you'd feel if you woke up one morning with a raging inferno threatening to engulf your home while you were still trying to find matching socks? Or if you had to dash out in the middle of the night, not for some spontaneous adventure, but to rescue a kitten from a burning building while sporting a tattoo that screams, "I'm here to save the day, and look fabulous." I mean, the priorities are distinctly questionable, yet somehow relatable, right? And so, without further ado, congratulations! You've just woken up in Edo period Japan, a time when the cherry blossoms were in full bloom, and life was about as calm and centered as a cat on a Roxane Gay book. The air is fragrant, the cherry blossoms are dancing in the wind, and, oh wait, something smells burned. Spoiler alert, it's definitely not last night's dinner. As you slip out from under your fragrant futon, brought to you by a combination of mosquito netting and a dream of fresh linens, you find yourself slap bang in the middle of a fireman's life. Your tattooed chest, bearing the majesty of a coiling red dragon, is not just for show. You're adorned with this glorious irezumi as a mark of protection against the very flames you're sworn to combat. Now that's what we call fashion with a purpose. Let's talk about your morning routine, shall we? You stretch your arms, feeling the intricate patterns of the dragon inked upon your chest.
It's a bit like a morning stretch, except more like rolling out of bed and flapping your arms like a particularly confused chicken, saying, "Behold, my dragon of destiny!" You can't help but admire how the scales catch the morning sunlight, glinting with such pizzazz that even the locals can't help but gawk. Out the door, you find the streets of Edo bustling, much like a Sunday farmer's market, with people darting about, trading goods, and gossiping about the latest hairdos. If you think today's Instagram influencers are something, wait until you get a load of the Edo merchants and their bold mustaches. It's a competitive world, where hairstyles and fire prevention levels seem to hold almost equal weight. Choosing your outfit was tricky. Perhaps some of those riotously flowing garments, adorned with lucky talismans to ward off misfortune, and maybe a fiery dragon here and there. It's like putting
On a superhero cape, just without the tights. You adjust your wares, feeling like you might actually defy the very flames you're meant to fight, as long as you don't trip over your own sleeves. As you hurry down the street, the lovely scent of grilled fish fills the air, mingling with the slightly less appetizing aroma of a bonfire? Ah, yes, another misadventure in the making. Fire prevention wasn't just a job, it was a dance, an elaborate performance. One moment you could be admiring the sakura blossoms, the next you're puffing like a dazed dragon yourself, racing toward an inferno. And let's not gloss over the fascinating characteristics of fire during the Edo period. People feared it more than they feared finding out their favorite brand of sake was sold out. Imagine, if you will, barrels of ash and embers flying about like unruly children at a birthday party. A hot mess, quite literally. But your tattoo? It serves as a beacon of hope and a reminder of your duty. This dragon will protect you, you think to yourself, considering adding the phrase, "Do not try this at home," under the tattoo later for good measure. Picture yourself buckling up, because they didn't have fire trucks in Edo. Nope, just good old-fashioned buckets and teamwork. You pool your fellow firemen, expertly trained warriors in their own right, all sporting their own dragon tattoos. Talk about a club you wouldn't want to forget your membership card for. Once you reach the source of those flames, there's a lot of shouting involved, which can sound more like an enthusiastic karaoke night than anything practical. "Water! We need water!" you holler, only to be met with the sounds of vagabonds giggling from the sidelines. Seriously, it's like trying to provide crowd control at a comedy show where everyone seems infinitely more entertained by your plight than your actual heroism. The fire bounces around, sending sparks akin to rebellious pixie dust into the air, and you find yourself dousing flames like it's an awkward performance art piece unfolding before an audience of unamused cats. You're splashing water with one hand while gesturing dramatically with the other, shouting, "Fear not, for I am the dragon-hearted fireman." What could possibly go wrong, right? Finally, as the last spitting embers flee like ghosts in the night, you stand triumphant, chest glowing, but mostly from the dragon tattoo, though you'd like to think it's due to sheer heroism. The onlookers absorb this scene with admiration while simultaneously filming on their invisible iPhones. Because let's face it, there's no better way to immortalize your heroics than with a cheeky viral video. And as the sun sets on Edo and the air cools, the tales of dragon-hearted firemen become legend. All the while, life carries on, leaving you pondering the curious juxtaposition of heroism, laundry, and really great fish. So, as you lay down to rest, chest Adorned with your victorious tattoo, remember that each day in Edo is an adventure, and not just a fierce battle against flames. Perhaps you'll dream of bigger fires tomorrow, or maybe just a restful night, free of sparks and infernos. Life's simple pleasures, after all. Pleasures. Chapter 14. The Tattooed Testament of a Gulag Warrior. Hey there, everyone. Buckle up, because tonight we're diving into a world so cold it puts your ex's icy demeanor to shame. The Russian Gulag. That's right, we're exploring the lives of inmates nestled in the frosty embrace of the Soviet penal system, where the weather outside is frightful and the food inside is, well, let's just say, questionable.
But before we journey into this historical winter wonderland, complete with frostbite and existential dread, let's take a moment to ask the big questions. Ever wondered what it's like to serve a sentence in a place colder than a polar bear's toenails? Or how one single chest tattoo could become the ultimate testament to survival? And really, what kind of breakfast is served when the main ingredient is misery? Spoiler alert, it's probably just a plate full of despair. Now, dim the lights, grab your thickest blanket, and prepare to get cozy. Picture yourself bundled up against the chill, knowing that you're about to wake up in the icy world of the late 20th century Soviet gulag, the very year a tattooed chest may have been your only chance at stylish survival. Let's dive in. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 1942, a year filled with fabulous uncertainty, and not in the fun way. Welcome to the frosty confines of a Russian gulag, where the air feels like biting into a tin can, and every breath is an exercise in willpower. Given the chilly ambiance, the only thing you can do is invest in layers. Lots and lots of layers. Now here's a twist. As you blink away the fog from your sleepy eyes, you catch a glimpse of something extraordinary. There, on the chest of your fellow inmates, intricate tattoos tell tales of valor and hardship, creating sprawling masterpieces against the pallid, weather-beaten skin. One inmate's chest features a magnificent cathedral with multiple domes, an artistic feat that's a little less Chagall and a lot more medieval fortress meets body canvas. Each dome represents a specific length of sentence served, because in this freezing underworld, nothing says, "I'm here for the long haul," like a detailed timeline etched into your flesh. But let's talk about the morning routine, shall we? You shuffle over to the common area, and the air greets you with the smell of something that could generously be called gruel. It's not quite oatmeal, let alone anything resembling food. Ever tried boiling spaghetti without water? Very similar vibes. And don't even get started on that onslaught of potatoes. Is there anything tastier, you might wonder? The answer is a resounding no. Unless you count the delicious sense of camaraderie that comes from whining about breakfast with your fellow inmates. As you gulp down the cold, soupy gloop, not to be confused with actual breakfast, the tattooed celibate nearest you lifts his shirt, unveiling his magnificent chest art.
Dude, that's impressive, you think, as the cathedral domes glisten with the hope that maybe, just maybe, that intricate ink design represents something better than a life of incessant labor. And how about your collection of tattooed tears? Those add an emotional touch. Let's talk about daily life here in the gulag. Wake up, scrape the frost off your face, try not to freeze in place, and then get ready for a long day of labor. It's like going for a jog if your route was littered with despair and your sneakers were actually a pair of heavy boots designed for just this sort of grind. And much like that last-mile struggle, you'll wish for a snack to keep you going, but the most you get is a whiff of nostalgia from your buddy's cafeteria-sized slice of potato bread. Now, picture this. While you're toiling away, standing shoulder to shoulder with comrades, that's the polite term for fellow prisoners, mind you, you can't help but overhear a riveting discussion about the symbolism of your tattoo. "Ah yes, the church, my path to redemption," one claims dramatically, patting his chest. "Too bad nobody told me I'd be decorating my skin with architectural features instead of actual accomplishments." You glance down at your own bare skin and realize that your greatest achievement today might just be not freezing solid. You chuckle softly to yourself, thinking, soon I'll have a chest tattoo that screams, "I survived, and all I got was this lousy ink." All right, let's take a moment and examine the conflicting emotions of resilience and reality. You glance at your neighbor's ornate cathedral tattoo, reflecting the struggles of an inmate's existence symbolically etched into flesh. It's like a living graph of how many ways you could survive a miserable routine. And it's somehow comforting to know that everyone is just trying to outlast each other in their own bureaucratic prison reality show. But here's where it gets absurd. Just as that winter sun peeks through the gelatinous clouds overhead, a roll call turns into a spontaneous sing-along about the trials and tribulations of the Gulag experience. If you thought the morning gruel was the highlight, hold on to your frozen hats. Everyone suddenly harmonizes about their bleak existence with the fervor of Broadway's best. One dome, two domes, what will they tattoo next? Singing for our freedom as we accrue perfect necks. You find yourself belting out involuntarily. Surreal? Yes. True? Also yes. But it's a shared moment that turns the bleak reality into something, well, just a tad bit lighter. As the day winds down and you crawl into your straw-stuffed mattress that definitely didn't come from a high-end IKEA, think back on the absurdity of it all. The humble cathedral that seems to hold tales of 1,000 misadventures sits proudly on your neighbor's chest while you contemplate splurging on a simplistic tattoo of a potato.
Welcome to the Gulag, where survival is an art worth inking, and every frosty night brings a new opportunity for camaraderie, creativity, and the finest of gallows humor. So, as your eyelids grow heavier and the sounds of frosty winds serenade you off to sleep, keep in mind this strange mashup of frost, tattoos, and an off-key choir. Tomorrow, who knows? Maybe the incredible potato tattoo will be the trend that takes your Gulag experience to legendary status. Sweet dreams, and remember, the survival of the fittest might just come down to the cleverness of your ink. Chapter 15. The Sailor's Ink and the Curious Past of Stability. Hey there, everyone. Tonight we're setting sail on a tranquil sea of nostalgia and absurdity, exploring a time so ancient it makes your granddad's stories of walking uphill to school sound absolutely riveting. So, dim those lights, put on that fan that's more temperamental than a cat on a skateboard, and get comfy. Now, have you ever considered what life was like for sailors in ancient Persia? What on earth dropped you into a boat on the Aegean Sea in 530 BCE? Did they have to know how to swim before they set out? Or was flailing just an acceptable form of naval training? And have you ever wondered how a single tattoo could tell the tale of a sailor's entire ordeal, like a watery version of a badly written soap opera? As you drift off into the waves of sleepy time, think about this. Would you rather risk a shark bite or a sea monster while gnawing on salted fish? And, seriously, who came up with the idea of getting a tattoo to express faith in a deity who more than likely was too busy overseeing a global empire to care about a sailor's personal life choices? Spoiler, you're about to find out. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 530 BCE, an era where written language is still working on its ABCs, but warriors barely knew how to wield a pen, much less write a persuasive letter to their favorite grocery store manager asking for fresher fish. You're in a boat, bobbing like a cork in a bathtub, drifting across the rippling waves of the Mediterranean. Imagine the scene. Sun glaring off the water, the salty breeze windsweeping through your hair, and all around you, the chatter of fellow sailors fills the air like a cacophony of mischievous seagulls. Each calloused forearm of your shipmates boasts tattoos that tell stories of bravery and unfortunate romantic decisions, like "Love of my life," inked next to "Retribution for eating my rations" in a regrettable script. Speaking of tattoos, your buddy over there just flaunted a dark anchor etched onto his forearm, a fashion statement that says, "I'm just here for the ride," while secretly praying the sea doesn't claim his boat or any of his dignity. The anchor, a symbol of stability, faces off against the tempestuous seas, just like your sanity plates itself against 21st century bureaucracy. Someone should tell these sailors the anchor doesn't keep you calm, it just weighs you down, much like the paperwork on your desk. But hey, who wouldn't want to get inked in their youth? You lean in closer to your shipmates as they banter about divine protection. A small cross is ingeniously woven into the tattoo, as if to say, "I'm a seafaring soldier, but I've got a divine plan." What a wildly optimistic view. You can't help but think, buddy, are you really prepared to outwit both ocean monsters and poor life choices? And let's dig deeper into the daily shenanigans aboard this ship. Every
morning, those brave sailors breathe in the ocean air, feeling it clear their lungs from last night's supper of, shall we say, adventurous seafood. Ever had to wash down dried fish with something that forever slightly resembles ocean brine? Yeah, these sailors did too. Their breakfast feast would be the envy of every influencer with a perfectly curated food channel, if only their meals could be styled with avocado toast. Now, picture this. As the ship dances on the waves, someone yells, "It's time to hoist the sails!" and chaos ensues. It's like a badly choreographed flash mob, except everyone's trying not to trip over each other's feet while they scramble towards ropes and sails, as if they're auditioning for a highly offensive slapstick comedy. Who knew nautical life could feel like a live-action rendition of a circus, complete with oars as the main act? You contemplate your own stance in this hysteria, observing your inked brethren hefting line like it's an Olympic weightlifting competition. There's an absurd, yet mesmerizing beauty in their struggle, almost like watching a group of toddlers attempt a group project. You'll soon grasp that every tangle and twisted rope is an opportunity for a sailor to showcase their true talent, turning impending doom into an impromptu comedy routine. Cine of impending doom, let's discuss the inevitable storm. Ah, storms. Nothing says, "I love my job," quite like a forecast of cravings for chaos. Just as the wind picks up, a colossus of clouds rolls in like a bad review on a restaurant. The crew springs into action like caffeinated squirrels, gripping ropes with all the tenacity of someone racing against the last pizza slice at a party. And just when you think it can't get any crazier, someone gives a peal of laughter that echoes across the salt-soaked air. Remember last week's storm? I thought I would join Poseidon as a designated grime ball, one sailor jokes. And suddenly you're swept into a laughter riot, buoyed along by the waves of camaraderie. Moments like these remind you that despite tempests, improper flotation devices, and, oh, the delightful aroma of poorly stored fish, together, you guys can outwit the sea, and maybe even the next day's breakfast. As you head to bed on this creaky wooden vessel, your body sways with the rhythm of the ocean, while your thoughts swirl around the humor, fear, and ink etched into the stories of the sailors around you. Each tattoo serves as a badge of honor, a symbol of times of bravery outweighing the chaos. Because let's face it, sometimes laughter really is the best survival tool, especially when your meal is suspected of swimming away last week. So as sleep begins to wash over you like a soft wave, let it be comforted by the absurd notion you might just wake up tomorrow with your own adventure-filled chest tattoo to rival your shipmates. Sweet dreams, and remember, avoid the ink that says, "I survived the Fish buffet.
the."
Chapter 16. The Tattooed Chronicles of Ancient Persia. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something more intricate than a cat trying to figure out how to wear a hat. The bizarre world of ancient tattoo practices in 530 BCE Persia. Yep, we're about to get knee-deep in the ink and absurdity of yore, where tattoos weren't just a flair for the dramatic, they were battle badges, and possibly the only thing standing between you and your deity's displeasure. But honestly, how did they even manage that? Did they have tattoo artists wielding needles made from bones, or simply very precise squirrels? Now, if you've ever wondered what the ancient world would look like if a hipster barista suddenly time-traveled back to become a tattoo artist, then buckle up, because those sailors with their unflattering ink choices are about to meet a whole new level of artistry and eccentricity. So, gather your pillows, slip into your most comfortable adult diapers, just in case, and get ready for a bedazzling journey through history. Imagine this. You wake up with the sweet scent of Mediterranean herbs wafting through the air, but instead of pancakes, you're surrounded by the rhythmic thumping of a tattoo machine that sounds shockingly similar to a herd of goats. Congratulations! Welcome to 530 BCE, where you've just joined an elite crew of sailors, and possibly tattooed warriors,
who are more adept at inking intricate geometric designs than navigating the open waters. As you acclimate to your surroundings, notice the tattoo artist working with an ink machine that looks like it could also function as a rudimentary fishing rod. It's a curious blend of the ancient and modern, a stark contrast blooming on the flesh of one very lucky client, whose arm is presently transforming into a sprawling canvas of swirling lines and cryptic shapes. You have to wonder, was he expecting an anchor? Or did the artist just break out the mystery design option? What's the deal with these tattoos anyway? Imagine getting a tattoo that could simultaneously serve as a fashion statement and an obituary. Something like, "Here lies my dignity, buried beneath this gnarly tattoo of a goat riding a chariot." And who knew that sailors held the ancient equivalent of tattoo reveal parties? Behold, my newest ink masterpiece, a geometric representation of my laundry woes. There's something hypnotic about the way the artist meticulously applies each line, blending the ancient art with modern precision. It's like watching a chef fillet a fish with the grace of a ballet dancer. But, being surrounded by sailors, every so often you overhear questionable advice like, "Just remember, lad, the stiffer the needle, the better the tattoo." Sure thing, you chirpy creatures of chaos. Life in 530 BCE wasn't just ink and serendipity either. Every day brought potential catastrophes as sailors navigated uncharted waters and unpredictable political climates. Picture your fellow shipmates needing to remind each other that, no, you cannot tattoo the name of your favorite fish on your arm without consulting our tattoo oracle first. A simple misunderstanding could easily result in the wrong fish turning into a political scandal. Oh, and let's take a moment to discuss the colors. Back then, colors came from the grand alchemy of nature. Crushed beetles, semi-precious stones, and maybe the occasional ill-fated lunch. Talk about a local salad bar gone wrong. You'd have sailors trading tips and recipes for colors, standing proudly by their vibrant tattoos. And you can just imagine one overly confident sailor proclaiming, "Mine's made of 12 crushed beetles. What's yours?" In the corner of the room, someone's poor decision to try out the first ever temporary tattoos has led to some unfortunate miscommunication. "So, what do you think, mate? Should I get the ink that fades with rain, or just use this mustard?" The ambiguity of that one got everyone scratching their heads, and their inked skin. Now, let's talk rites of passage. Every sailor knew that getting inked was almost a rite of passage, reserved for initiating new members into the, wait for it, fraternity of the nautical ink wielders. Forget hazing. Instead, they sat in a ring, with the tattoo artist at the center, as others shouted random motivational quotes about the sea and courage. "Ink or swim, mate," became the catchy phrase that defined their camaraderie. As the tattoo's detailed lines reached completion, you can't help but admire the craftsmanship. What was once a simple arm is now a piece of walking art, a mess of geometric patterns and bizarre characters that could easily double as a secret code for ordering takeout in a past life. Yes, I'll have the squishy fish with a side of regret. But amid this ink-induced hysteria, you might begin to ponder, what if you, too, got a tattoo that chronicled your own silly exploits of modern life? Maybe a slice of pizza inked on one shoulder could narrate the battle against late-night cravings, while a coffee cup on the other could illustrate your caffeine-fueled attempts at adulting. Finally, as sunset colors begin to fade into the deep purples of night, you realize that tattoos back then were not just about aesthetics. They held stories, memories, and moments wrought with hilarity and style. So, as sleep claims you, many eventually take comfort in the fact that those sailors, their body art reflecting tales of adventure and folly, laid the first colored bricks towards our modern struggle against the eternal quests of looking stylish through ink. So, roll over and rest easy, knowing that sometimes laughter really is the best eternal tattoo to carry with us. Tomorrow, maybe just keep the mustard to your hot dogs. Sweet dreams.
Chapter 17. The Armor-Clad Adventure of Queen Tomyris. Hey guys, tonight we're fasten your seatbelts, or in this case, your bronze breastplates, because we're diving headfirst into the wild and wonderful world of ancient battlefields, where the horses were the size of dinosaurs and the queens had fewer boundaries than your last online shopping spree. Get ready to meet Queen Tomyris, a woman who was so fierce she could probably scare a bear into a polite bow and a meteor to avoid hitting her kingdom. Now, if you ever wondered what life as a nomadic warrior queen looked like, let's just say it's not too different from surviving a family reunion, full of potential drama, tribal chaos, and someone always needing to borrow your bow and arrows. But don't worry, this isn't just your typical case of ancient history. No, dear listeners, this tale is garnished with humor sharper than a particularly divine sword that may or may not have been forged in the fires of chaos. So, dim the lights and close the curtains, unless of course you have a view that rivals the great steppes of Central Asia, which, let's be honest, we're all just a touch envious of. Before we plunge into the past, let's ponder for a moment. Ever tried riding a horse while holding a snack? We're talking about warrior snacks here, like the secret beef jerky stash hidden under your chainmail. Or how about strategizing a battle while contemplating if your armor's color clashes with your complexion? Do you think ancient queens stressed about their outfits like we do today? Or did they just stick to that classic, bronze is the new black? Congratulations! You've just woken up in the year 530 BCE, and you're standing amongst the vast expanse of the steppes of Central Asia, surrounded by warriors who look remarkably like they've just walked off a particularly fashionable runway in an ancient, glitzy magazine. You can't help but notice your stylish attire, complete with a bronze breastplate, snug-fitting but still leaving some room for that post-battle feast you've been dreaming about featuring lamb, honey, and possibly some ancient wisdom dipped in yogurt. As you step out, the sweet scent of horses greets you, mixed with the earthy aroma of the steppe. The soft clopping of hooves reverberates like a gentle lullaby, while the vastness of the open steppe stretches without end. Almost like that one time you tried to tackle an all-you-can-eat buffet with your friends. Ah, the limitless horizons inspire hope, or snack choices for the next few adventurous days. Now, as you take in the surroundings, the atmosphere is charged with energy. Queen Tomyris is not just any warrior queen. She's resolutely mounted on a powerful steed that exudes confidence, like that one friend who doesn't need caffeine to kickstart their day. Clad in her impressive armor, crafted from bronze and leather, it's a blending of functionality and style that would make any modern fashionista weep with envy. Is that a high-fashion battle look? Is she actually prepared to take on an empire while also being Vogue's next top model? Unclear. The massage tea forces line up, and you can practically hear the camaraderie, a hum of laughter so captivating it could probably convince even the most brooding of warriors to break a smile. And speaking of smiles, imagine the discussions going on while trying to plan a battle. All right, lads, so we flank to the left, but let's avoid running into the dessert table again, because you know what happened last time. The strategy sessions must have been a riot. Inside the encampment, there are sounds of preparation, metal clanging, the sizzling of meats cooked over an open fire, and the occasional yelp of someone who accidentally stepped on a rather enthusiastic goat. It's a daily life that feels like half serious and half circus, prompting someone to ask if they should try out for "So You Think You Can Slay?" And amidst all of this, Queen Tomyris stands defiantly, silently surveying her troops. Her eyes are fiery, filled with the kind of unwavering determination that makes people question if they really want to mess with her. As they prepare to face the formidable Cyrus the Great, you sense the air thickening with tension. You start to wonder, did her battle strategy involve snacks? Perhaps a cheeky remark about Cyrus not even knowing how to tie his own sandals? Amongst the commotion, you might gather snippets of conversation around the campfire. I'm telling you, if we just lure him in with his own ego, we can sneak up and
Wait, did someone say sneak? In this armor? With this horse? The discussions range from battle plans to relevant fashion advice that we're all dying to know. Now, let's not forget, this is no ordinary king they are preparing against. Cyrus is known for being quite the conqueror, like the ultimate high score in an ancient game of Pac-Man, and your team could use all the sass and skill they can muster. Picture this: Queen Tomyris elegantly jumping onto her horse, a graceful act despite the clinking of armor, which might have looked more like a medieval ballet routine than preparation for battle. Is that a pirouette we see? Is that a new tactic? Only time will tell. Over that very night, you can feel the anticipation building as they prepare for what seems like an epic showdown. As dusk descends and stars dot the expansive sky, you may think to yourself, maybe these fierce warriors are ultimately not so different from us modern-day folk trying to conquer the challenges of life, whether they're invading empires or managing to pay rent on time. After all, every battle, even the one within ourselves, requires the bravery to surround ourselves with our own tribes and a healthy heaping of laughter along the way. And just like that, as night swallows the horizon and whispers tales of glory, Queen Tomyris and her massage tay stand ready, bold, fierce, and perhaps smuggling a few extra snacks into their battle plans. Because if there's one thing that resonates through the ages, it's that any hero worth their salt knows how to balance seriousness with a sprinkle of joy. And as you drift off to sleep, let that spirit of adventure and laughter guide you through your own nightly quests. Sweet dreams of conquests and giggles await. Chapter 18: The Night of Easily Distracted Horse Archers. Welcome back, fellow time travelers. As we roll back the sands of time, let's delve into a night where chaos and confusion roamed the steppe like an overenthusiastic toddler at a birthday party. So, without further ado, let's immerse ourselves in the vibrant mayhem of a skirmish between the Masagetai horse archers and Cyrus the Great's wayward Persian column. Grab a soft blanket. Remember, comfort is key when you face the impending hilarity of fate. Imagine yourself as a soldier in an ancient army, perhaps one clad in gleaming armor that could blind a bull, or just a set of tunics that still carry the faint scent of last week's battle stew. You're out in the open, under a sky that's moving from a happy cerulean to a suspicious shade of dark purple, and you're just thinking, did someone forget to send the weather memo? Ever wonder what it felt like, marching under a sky that clearly wasn't on your side? Now, throw in a healthy quirkiness that might just remind you of your last family reunion, where everything felt uncanny and somewhat awkward. And wait, let's acknowledge the undeniable fact that nothing says, "I'm prepared for battle," quite like a drinking contest gone awry. The troops, slightly tipsy, or very tipsy depending on how persuasive Cyrus's encouragement was, are embracing more than just the sweet sting of arrogance. You know that fuzzy feeling of confidence after one too many cocktails at a happy hour? Now, envision that. Replace the cocktails with fermented goat's milk, and cut that fuzzy feeling with the sudden shock of incoming arrows. Let's paint the scene a bit more clearly. It's night, and suddenly, the Persian soldiers are caught in a mist that smells like a mix of poorly fermented apples and something nobody quite wants to identify. Picture it. Amidst the dim light of flickering campfires, they are clinking drinking vessels and boasting about their latest conquests, oblivious to the fact that myriad Masagetai horse archers are rolling in, fully determined to turn this festivity into a very uncelebrated disarray. The Masagetai, armed and ready, ride like a flock of hyperactive geese during mating season, flying in from all angles, shifting as gracefully as cats in tiny spaces, while launching arrows tipped sharper than your Aunt Mabel's holiday critiques. And what happens next? In the dark of night, confusion reigns supreme. It's less of a battle and more like a surprise party your friends forgot to mention. Except this time, it's archers bursting onto the scene, and the confused citizens are realizing they actually did not need that extra round of Who wants to be a mayor? How would you react, dear listener? Would you leap behind your elegantly assembled shield, or just stand there like a deer caught in the headlights, wondering if you should have paid more attention during sword fighting? Lessons. Perhaps you think, this is the exact moment I regret both my life choices and last night's eel soup. The arrows sail through the air, whistling past like overly ambitious flies at a summer picnic, each one attempting to ruin someone's day, or evening for that matter. They strike down with the inevitability of the pizza delivery guy showing up the minute you've decided to start a diet. You can practically hear the groans of the Persian soldiers. Not again. I just wanted one peaceful night with my goblet of happiness. Now let's talk about sounds. The air is filled with not only the whoosh of arrows and startled yells, but also the splendid chorus of, "Help! It's a snipe hunt, and I'm the snipe!" mixed with the horse hooves thundering around like disgruntled roommates without a proper coffee maker. Can you imagine the chaos? One poor fellow finds himself wrestling with his horse, desperately trying to free himself from the stirrups, as the beast seems more focused on galloping away than on protecting its rider. "Look, buddy, it's either you or me," says the hapless soldier, all the while wishing he'd taken a basic riding class before this very essential moment. Amidst this all, a brave Masajatai warrior, who claims he was just about to win a dodgeball back home, seems to have figured out that the secret lies in sheer, unadulterated chaos. Instead of facing one soldier head-on, he decides to fire off his arrows with more precision than a toddler's art project. Maybe one arrow sticks, the rest land harmlessly in a pile of hay, to be the exact reason why a local cow may just wake up with a rather strange headache. "Ah, a glorious night," exclaims the Masajatai chief, thoroughly enjoying the unfortunate Persian fate from a safe distance, not unlike how one might enjoy watching reality TV drama unfold. Why, if I didn't know better, I'd say they've taken on the local wine appreciation club. As the skirmishes commence, one thing becomes clear. The Persian soldiers, in their slightly tipsy state, are losing more than just battleground. They're losing their dignity. If only they had thought to bring snacks as a distraction. At a lost for words moment, it feels like going to a PowerPoint presentation just to realize you're the only one who forgot the big binder full of notes. "Gee, I thought this was going to be a discussion about conquering," grumbles one soldier, trying to make sense of the pandemonium while his side looks as if they've seen better party games. Now remember, a night like this teaches one invaluable lesson. Next time you raid the pantry, raid it with your wits about you. Otherwise, you just might find yourself finding cover from a wine party turned chaos skirmish late into the night. Uncertain of their next steps, you abruptly wake up to a lesson you'd never learn in any classroom. And it's like they say, what happens on the step stays on the step, unless you take it home and tell your mother. Sweet dreams await, filled with whimsy and ridiculousness. Chapter 19. The grief-stricken queen amidst the carnage of war. Hey guys, welcome back to our slightly bumpy, oddly cushioned time machine journey through history. Tonight, we're diving into a moment more intense than your last family Thanksgiving. A chaotic clash between ancient warriors, fueled by revenge, and drenched in the kind of drama that would give even daytime soap operas a run for their money. Yet, amid all this uproar, we're following a truly remarkable woman, a warrior queen whose anger could probably melt stone, and who managed to give a certain Persian king a one-way ticket to the afterlife. So, grab your blankets, turn those lights down low, and let's find a comfy position. But before we plunge deeper into our story, let me shower you with some puzzling thoughts. Have you ever wondered what it must have felt like to lead a bunch of fierce warriors into battle with nothing but a sword and your unwavering spirit? Or perhaps you've pondered how one prepares for the tedious task of decapitating a notorious conqueror. I mean, what do you even wear for that? Combat gear or a fancy sequined number for dramatic effect? Just imagine the fashion choices at that moment. Did they have stylist advisors? Yes, I do recommend leather, very fierce. And now, like a not-so-welcome houseguest who overstays their visit, let's leap into 530 BCE, where you've just woken up on a blood-soaked battlefield, mildly confused, possibly disheveled, and surrounded by the aftermath of a fierce conflict. This is where our story unfolds. As you blink away the dust and realization settles in that you've somehow become a part of this fierce landscape, let's paint the scene. The air is thick with the palpable scent of iron and, let's be honest, a long-standing absence of proper soap. You might also want to keep your mouth closed to avoid the uninvited spritz of blood-laden mist, which does wonders for raising your anxiety levels. Standing before you is Tomyris, the ferociously determined queen of the Massagetai. She's clad in armor that seems almost unreasonably stylish considering the circumstances. Think of killer boots with just the right touch of ferocity, complete with accessories that say, "I definitely have a way with swords." But wait, there's more. She's knee-deep in a memorial-like panorama of slain enemies, most notably the unfortunate Cyrus the Great, who's just had one exceptionally bad day. It's like if your plans for a relaxing weekend barbecue suddenly turned into an episode of Survivor, the Ancient World, without your consent. Her heart is a jumble of grief and fury, a concoction so potent it could inspire a best-selling self-help book. How to Conquer Grief with a Side of Ruthlessness. You can almost hear the inner dialogue. What's worse, the loss of my people or the humiliation of letting Cyrus get away? Spoiler alert, it's going to be his head on a platter. Tomyris strides forward, her eyes locked onto the defeated warrior king, whose reputation was once as grand as his ego, ironically, possibly even greater. And honestly, this should come with a warning label. Beware, ye kings, of the rage of a grieving warrior queen. There's a piece of advice one can derive from this. If someone tells you that crying over spilt blood in this way is counterproductive, just respond with an ancient roll of your eyes. You know, the one that says, "Thanks, but I'll handle my grievances at sword point." The battlefield beneath her feet squelches unpleasantly. Every step she takes is a reminder of the harsh truth that vengeance is messy, like trying to clean up after a toddler with a finger-painting obsession. And in an unfortunate turn, the cries of the wounded surround her, a blend of dreadful wailing so glum it could almost match a choir of tone-deaf cats during bath time. Now let's take a moment and imagine that you, dear listener, are right there with her, feeling every grim pulse of energy coursing through the atmosphere. How would you process such overwhelming loss and rage? Would you throw a tantrum worthy of a toddler who missed nap time? Or would you channel all that angst into a motivational speech that makes national headlines? Perhaps it's worth considering maintaining an emotional balance without resorting to improvised decapitation. Just a thought. Tomyris glances at the lifeless body of Cyrus, whose reign was as expansive as his appetite for conquest. She might have thought, "I'd be amazed at the audacity of it all if I wasn't already feeling so incredibly wronged." And here's the kicker. Rather than sneaking in an awkward moment of silence, she takes center stage and makes this anguish personal, as though her next move was written down by a bard who definitely had ambitions of greatness. You can almost hear her rallying call echoing through time as she yells, "Let this be a lesson to anyone flirting with disrespecting my people." It's the kind of call to arms that sent shivers down the spines of young warriors who, moments before, were probably engrossed in weapon maintenance tutorials. There's no how-to manual for this kind of battle-ready mindset, no training wheels. If you're in it, you're all in. Yet, it isn't devoid of absurdities. Perhaps someone nearby, licking their wounds, mutters, "Hey, is that a pregnant pause I sense, or just a moment of unexpected solidarity?" And truly, you couldn't make this up. Even in the chaotic throes of battle, camaraderie sprouted, forging bonds as unexpectedly intense as their loyalty to one another. So as you lay there in that ancient moment, let the weight of their ambitions, their losses, and their stubborn quests for retribution wash over you like some invigorating ancient spa treatment. Not the kind you wish for, but the kind that leaves you contemplative. In a world filled with strife and passionate disputes, isn't it fascinating how mortals grapple with destiny, unearthing moments that transcend the boundaries of mere existence? In the end, let's just say, instead of sending a secret message in a bottle, Tomyris just sent a severed head. Because sometimes, life lessons come with a slice of irony. Hang tight, because we're just warming up, and already this saga feels like it has the potential to make your last Netflix binge seem like a short bathroom break. And if this doesn't inspire some melodramatic poetry, well, I don't know what will. Now let's move on. But don't forget to tuck in your sword and keep an eye on anyone wielding a sharp object nearby. Chapter 20. Tomyris and the Blood Wine Party. Hey guys, welcome back to our absurdly adventurous sojourn through history. Tonight, we dive into a tale more sensational than the plot twist in your favorite soap opera. A warrior queen, a vengeful heart, and blood that flows not just on battlefields, but into the most intriguing of beverages. Blood wine. Yes, you heard me right. So, grab your pillows, get comfortable, and prepare for the kind of historical shenanigans that'll make your last encounter with a red wine stain seem like a gentle splash of Merlot. Before we plunge headfirst into this juicy tale, give a thought to this. Have you ever tried to concoct the perfect revenge cocktail? Perhaps you fancy creating a blend of gin and longing while wondering how exactly one goes about serving cold, angry justice. And what about the attire for a post-battle soiree? Is it appropriate to trade your blood-soaked armor for something a bit more chic? Probably. But opting for a fashion-forward outfit might not endear you to your warriors. Dude, we're about to showcase a severed head. Can't you just stick to the armor? Now, as we fasten our historical seatbelts, let's transport ourselves back to the year 530 BCE. Congratulations, you've just woken up on a sun-drenched plain, soaked in the strife of a chaotic battle. Take a moment to wrangle your sense of confusion. It's more than valid. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, blood, and, if you're lucky, the faint aroma of a campfire. Coffee? Never heard of it here. Instead, you're left wishing for even a whiff of lavender-scented candle frightfulness from the local scent artist. If only there were such a thing in ancient times. Staring down at the chaotic battlefield, you see Tomyris, the legendary queen of the Massagetae, standing tall amidst the less fortunate fallen. Her regal armor glimmers absurdly under the blazing sun. Picture this. She's rocking a fierce look, combining the best parts of warrior chic with an unyielding aura of authority. You know, the kind of energy that screams, "Don't mess with me, I have a severed head to attend." As you take a moment to absorb this avant-garde vibe, you can almost hear her inner monologue. Today, my friends, I shall serve justice cooler than a chilled bottle of Chardonnay. Here's a toast to sweet vengeance. You can imagine her warriors nodding behind her, some secretly hoping for a sip of whatever she's concocting, and others dodging the guilt of being nervous about taste testing post-decapitation. Her gaze fixates on Cyrus the Great, who's literally having the worst day of his life. No, really. He's just a head now, peering lifelessly at the sky as though contemplating future poor decisions. "Oh, Cyrus," she muses, "you thought you could conquer my people and still have your crown? Not on my watch. This is less about being a gracious host and more about a well-planned bloodletting." As the dust begins to settle and the smell of the battlefield morphs into something strangely intoxicating, Tomyris begins her preparations for the grand send-off of the greatest Persian king the world may have ever known, or, at least, the greatest of all the heads lying in the vicinity. "Heads up," she might call out to her captive audience before pulling out a large wineskin. "Let's make a signature blend." Now, here's where things get hilariously tactical. Ever tried pouring a decapitated monarch's head into a sack filled with human blood? Look, I wouldn't recommend it for your next dinner party, but Tomyris approached it like it was a masterclass in ancient mixology. You want to serve chills down spines while also presenting something stylish? Here is your recipe, straight from the heart. The warriors stand in awe and minor horror, witnessing the kind of bold hospitality only a warrior queen could muster. As she plunges the severed head of Cyrus into the wineskin, you can bet the earth beneath them trembles slightly. Not from fear, but perhaps from sheer disbelief. What's next? Do they pop champagne or simply raise their goblets filled with this unique vintage of blood wine? It's the kind of bold move that turns a mundane battle into an epic-defining soiree. Just imagine the party invites. Join us for revenge and refreshments. RSVP by raising your weapon. So what's the takeaway here, you ask? Ancient battles were more than just grand displays of swordplay. They were like epic mashups of Shakespearean tragedy and modern-day reality shows. Instead of posting a Snapchat with a decapitated filter, they went for full integration of body parts into celebratory cocktails. In the world of Tomyris, post-battle cleanup wasn't about mops and buckets. Oh no, it was a grand artistic expression of blood art with just a hint of savage whimsy. Who knew the edge of war could also serve as the brisk canvas of my artistic endeavors? She might ponder while shaking her head at her surprisingly compliant warriors. Now, who wants to taste test the head and reminisce about his many conquests? And as the group prepares to toast to their new, ancient vintage, there's a moment of stillness as they contemplate the life choices that led them here. Perhaps that's the real mystery, is it not? The blend of humor, valor, and maybe just a sprinkle of questionable judgment that keeps history so delightfully messy and unforgettable. So as Tomyris relieves her grief with a side of blood wine, let's pause and think. Wouldn't you want her by your side at your next home gathering? Just maybe keep the swords away from the hors d'oeuvres. So that, dear listeners, captures our moment with Tomyris, a queen who wouldn't just make headlines, she'd write the books that all those backstabbing and throne-seeking folks wouldn't dare acknowledge. And before you drift off into slumber, let that image linger. Warrior queen, a head in blood, and a narrative as rich and layered as your favorite combo pie. Absurd, fierce, and undeniably captivating. Now let's traverse further into this tapestry of time. Chapter 21. The Temple Door and the Key to Misadventure. Hey guys, welcome back to our wonderfully wacky journey through history. Tonight, we're focusing on something more intricate than your in-laws' family tree: ancient engineering. Think of this as both the best and worst escape room you've never participated in. Except instead of just 3 clueless friends and a ticking clock, it's just you, a hefty wooden temple door, and the distinct possibility of getting stuck in an era where they thought sandals were acceptable footwear. Before we dive in, let's take a moment to ponder this. Have you ever wished you had a key that could unlock not just doors, but also your wildest aspirations, or at least the fridge late at night? Or perhaps wondered why any door would need a key that looks like it could double as a medieval weapon? Is that a deterrent for thieves? Or just a really ambitious way to avoid handing out spare keys to your neighbor's cat? Now, let's set the stage. Congratulations! You've just woken up in 530 BCE, right outside a colossal temple in ancient Egypt, perfectly aligned with the cosmos, and, naturally, your dreams of grandeur. As you blink in the bright sunlight, your eyes land on a magnificent wooden door, so heavy and ornate that it seems almost rude to even consider knocking. Seriously, it's like the ancient Egyptians were out here playing who can make the most dramatic entrance. Now, let's talk about that door. It's carved with intricate hieroglyphs, a language so ancient it's like the emojis of its time, only more permanent and a tad less relatable. The door's wood has a varnish so shiny it could blind an unsuspecting visitor. Picture it. The light refracts off its surface, throwing dazzling shapes around, almost like disco night, but without the music or even the slightest hint of fun. Instead, you're left philosophically wondering whether the ancient Egyptians were attempting to start a dance party or building a fortress against uninvited family members. Sitting beside you is the key. Oh, the key. It's not just a simple metal object. It looks like it was designed by someone who took their key-making responsibilities a tad too seriously. Picture a giant piece of rough-hewn wood, boasting raised pins resembling a particularly frustrated porcupine. You can practically feel its disdain for anyone who dares approach the door without mastery of the ancient art of unlocking. Now imagine trying to plunge that enormous key into the corresponding bolt embedded in the grand door. It's a bit like trying to unlock your phone with a banana. Sounds feasible in theory, but in practical terms, not so much. The key and lock are a delicate dance of wood against wood, a tactile clash, and in this dance, you're half convinced that the door is laughing at you. "Try me, dear traveler," it seems to say. "I've seen a pyramid's worth of casualties trying to get through me." As you insert the key, it requires a gentle yet firm twist. This isn't some modern door that swings open at the mere suggestion of urgency. Oh no, we're talking about a door that possibly requires a secret handshake or some ancient form of sweet-talking to budge an inch. "Come on, you big contraption. I promise, I have snacks." Unfortunately, the door remains unmoved, perhaps opting for a stress-eating approach to its stubbornness, just like you when faced with a crisis and a box of chocolates. If you listen closely, you can hear the sound of ancient life on the other side, voices echoing through the walls, indistinguishable yet larger than life, like a badly tuned radio station stuck between a sermon and desperate pleas for more olives. You can almost feel the anticipation mounting. The lock seems to be connecting with its bolt in a way that is both reassuring and absurdly dramatic, like the world's clumsiest soap opera. But just when you've managed to turn that hefty key just enough, a great creak fills the air. A sound so loud it might wake the mummies reclining in their sarcophagi and contemplating their questionable life decisions. The door sways slightly, and you take a hopeful step back, waiting for the crescendo to end in a triumphant swing. Alas, it only serves to open a minuscule gap, almost teasing you, as if it were saying, "Not today, friend, not today." Suddenly, your hand slips, and you're wondering if this is the moment where you become a permanent fixture in History 101 as the person who got stuck in an ancient Egyptian door. Gripping the key tighter, you take a deep breath. After all, if those bored-looking mummies can endure their stillness for centuries, surely you can muster a little more determination. With one final effort, you let out a battle cry worthy of a warrior queen and shove that key in, pivoting with all the grace of a worm trying to pop out of its burrow. At last, the door groans and swings open wide, revealing an eerie and dusty interior. It's dark, shadowy, and kind of smells like an ancient sock left behind after a particularly long road trip. A gust of musty air exclaims, "Welcome to your claustrophobic nightmares." The scene is both inviting and mildly terrifying, a reminder of just how much you hoped to stay on the outside. Now that you've cracked the code of entry, or at least stumbled through it, you can't help but wonder what awaits. Will there be spontaneous dance numbers lurking within? Perhaps a more modern banquet of ancient times, featuring roasted falcons and dried figs. Luckily, as you take your first cautious steps through the threshold, you realize both adventure and misadventure are only a heartbeat away. So buckle up, dear adventurer. It seems in this age, you don't merely unlock doors. You unleash the spiraling essence of tales not just rooted in the past, but swirling toward a future full of mischief and rollicking hilarity. Grab your courage and
Snack, although historically questionable, as you step deeper into the whimsical chaos of ancient Egypt. Cue the soft, dramatic music leading us into the next chapter of our historical adventure. Chapter 22. The Stone Seal and the Great Bureaucratic Drama of Babylon. Hey guys, welcome back to our historical rabbit hole, where we find ourselves immersing in something stickier than your last trip to an all-you-can-eat buffet, the intriguing world of ancient bureaucracy. Tonight,
we pay homage to a time when paperwork was carved into stone, and all secure communications were decidedly less secure than your bank's online system after a week of password updates. Imagine a bustling Babylon, circa 530 BCE. If you can picture yourself sipping herbal tea while surrounded by zealous scribes, you've got the right idea. Before we jump into the drama of rolling seals and bureaucratic blunders, think for a moment. Have you ever tried to fit your thoughts into a tiny text box and realized, oh dear, your cat pic just took up half the space? Or considered how a 6-page form really needs a "why did I even start this?" option before it makes its way to the trash? In ancient Babylon, instead of page counts and auto-corrected mischief, they had tiny stone seals doing the work. Yeah, that's right, no word processors or keyboard shortcuts here. So let's set the scene. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the heart of ancient Babylon, surrounded by grandeur and confusion all wrapped up in a thick layer of sand. You find yourself near a richly adorned palace that puts Instagram filters to shame, with its brilliant blue tiles gleaming in the sun like they attended an ancient rave. To your left, a group of scribes hastily scribbles on clay tablets, looking both bewildered and caffeine-deprived. Don't let those chisels fool you. You know they're all secretly wishing for the convenience of a ballpoint pen. Now let's talk about the main event of this bureaucratic bonanza. Your Babylonian high-ranking official, seated at an ornate table that is more blinged out than a rapper's gold chain. Picture him carefully rolling a small, intricately carved stone cylinder seal over a lump of wet clay. The motion is slow and deliberate, almost like a yoga session gone wrong, where the instructor encourages you to connect with your inner peace, but really, you're just trying not to drop your smoothie. This stone seal is the key to all things bureaucratic in Babylon, sort of the ancient equivalent of that one email signature you're too lazy to change, despite it being wildly outdated. The impressions it leaves behind are meant to signify authority, security, and anything else that could come in very handy when someone tries to gatecrash your kingdom like they're sneaking into a sold-out concert. As he rolls the seal, you hear the squish of the clay, that delightful sound reminiscent of stepping on a particularly unfortunate avocado. It's oddly satisfying, yet you can't help but wonder, how did we go from this elegant mess to accidentally hitting send on that email to your boss before proofreading it? Fast forward through thousands of years, and you're still rolling the dice each time you click those keys. But wait, imagine this high-ranking official studiously locking in a set of intricate designs, symbols of authority that could rival a corporate logo, and accidentally rolling over a lump of clay that has a rather unfortunate message. You know, something like, "I owe you a dinner that I definitely won't pay for." Oh, the bureaucratic horror. Talk about a recipe for a historical version of oops. You can bet HR wasn't involved back then. Let's dig a little deeper. What does this process smell like? Oh, not the finest bouquet of artisanal scents, I assure you. If you lean in too close, you'll catch a whiff of damp earth, dried clay, and the faint scent of desperation. It's like an ancient DIY project gone terribly awry, with a lingering essence of, "I should have handed this off to the intern." The high-ranking official's skilled hands move serenely as he rolls the seal forward, relishing that satisfying click of success. No pressure, right? Just the future of the entire empire hanging in the balance, documented in what could very well be the equivalent of using a sticky note for top-secret plans. You'll forgive him for looking a bit anxious. After all, nobody in their right mind wants to get off the phone with the king complaining about unsealed clay documents. In this moment, you're reminded of all those times you've searched for a reply all option, only to accidentally invite the entire office to your weekend barbecue. Avocado dip is easily the most regrettable decision one can make, though nothing can compare to the official tying himself to a failed seal rollout in an empire. After the third roll of the cylinder, he is confident and blind to this risk. Could this be a glorious mishap or the crumbling of bureaucratic order? You decide, my friend, whether you're rooting for the seal or the official. Just know, history is like a potato salad. It only takes one wrong ingredient for everything to go sideways in the lunchroom. You can almost hear the faint echo of laughter from history itself, swirling like ancient whispers as the high-ranking official takes a deep breath and marvels at his handiwork. But oh, dear listener, it's not over yet. Before he can rejoice, a clumsy assistant bumps into the table, sending an avalanche of clay and tablets flying through the air. A humorous reminder that bureaucracy, like a bad sitcom, thrives on chaos. With one final layer of irony, the majestic cylinder seal rolls off the table, leaving behind an impression that's somehow more memorable than it is bureaucratically correct. A reminder that even in ancient times, things didn't always go as planned. Ah, history. It never fails to serve up a hearty side of laughter while we venture through its mildly interesting twists and turns. And just like that, my dear listener, it appears we're knee-deep in the
trenches of Babylonian paper trails, ceiling stones, and historical hiccups, where each roll promises either success or sheer hilarity. Stay comfy, for this ride through the amusingly tangled web of history has only begun, and there are many more tales waiting to unfold. Chapter 23: The Ring and the New World Order of Roman Bling. Hey guys, welcome back to the whimsical world of history, where the past is always just a little more absurd than you'd expect, like trying to organize a sock drawer with only mismatched socks. Tonight, we're diving into a time when status and style were honestly more perplexing than a cat trying to operate a vacuum cleaner. The luxurious life of the elite in ancient Rome. So, grab your most opulent imaginary toga and let's wade through the golden pools of Roman extravagance. Imagine if you lived in a world where your worth was measured not just by your bank account, but by the shimmering adornments on your fingers and the odd contraption that looked suspiciously like a glorified paperweight. Ah yes, the ring key. A little side note before we leap deep into this ringed dilemma. Have you ever found that one key forever abandoned in the bottom of your junk drawer? The one that's supposed to unlock your past, but mostly unlocks confusion? Yeah, well, the Romans didn't mess around when it came to their possessions. Each ornate ring key was basically a mini passport to an elite hoard of treasures. It's like wearing a VIP backstage pass, but less about rock bands and more about, important stuff like spices, silk, and the occasional stolen toga from a rival. Now, do you ever wonder how the wealthiest Roman citizens felt with their bling? Imagine them strutting through the forum, feeling fresher than a newly minted coin. How did they decide what to wear? Did they have a key fashion week? And let's be honest, what kind of epic debates about dangling bits of metal kept them up at night? Do I go with the gold or the bronze today? No, maybe the one encrusted with amethyst. It's all the rage. Talk about real first world problems. Congratulations, you've just woken up in 530 BCE Rome, a time when gladiators roamed the streets and dodging dung was considered expert-level agility training. Grab that imaginary toga, fluffed just right, because you're in for a wild ride. You feel the weight of your small, ornate bronze ring key resting on your finger, a tiny yet powerful symbol of your elevated status. What does it look like, you ask? Picture this. Jewelry so detailed it makes artisans weep while chipping away at their latest endeavors. This is no generic engagement ring, folks. It's embellished with motifs that speak of conquest, wealth, and is possibly just a hint of someone's desire to one-up their neighbors in the bling-off of the century. As you casually flaunt your ring key, it hints at mysterious treasures locked away in your villa. Golden chalices, fine silks, and odds and ends you totally meant to return to your last dinner party. Don't worry, they definitely won't notice the missing goblet. Now, let's paint a picture of the bustling streets of Rome. The air is thick with the smell of street food that makes your stomach growl, like an angry dog. Vendors yell about their heavenly fried delicacies. Think deep-fried olives drizzled in honey. You spot a fellow elite citizen trying to juggle a heaping plate of them while gesturing wildly with their free hand, unintentionally flinging an olive into the face of a passing senator. It's comedy gold. And what's this commotion? You can hear the clanging of armor as a group of gladiators passes by, flexing muscles you couldn't even dream of developing. You wonder if they also wear ring keys, only theirs unlocks secret training regimens, not treasure chests. Imagine a gladiator attempting to open a chest with a key, the signature scene of a comedy where he accidentally locks himself in a broom closet instead. But let's get back to the finer details. Now that you're adorned with your elegant ring key, it signifies instant access to everything wealthier than a peasant's dreams. You glide through delicious streets, trying to find a moment of snobbish delight as you keep your hand casually positioned to showcase your latest acquisition. "Oh, you simply must see my ring key," you declare. "Is that a new style?" someone asks, gesturing toward a surprisingly out-of-touch counterpart brandishing a plain iron key. You suppress a chuckle at their bewilderment. "Ah, my dear, what a shame. One should always maintain the ability to unlock both fortunes and trendy dinner conversation. And let's not forget the practicality of the ring key. Places you might have once felt restricted from suddenly became accessible. What does this mean? Connections, secrets, and perhaps even exclusive recipes for lavish feasts that couldn't possibly involve an actual vegetable. The elite spirit of Rome was alive and thriving like sparkling wine bubbling over during an extravagant toast. Now, imagine the contrasting moments where your ring key might spring into action. Say your friend from next door accidentally shows up with your claim-to-fame casserole, something too zesty for even the strongest of tummies. Suddenly, being able to unlock your stash of valuable medicinal herbs takes on whole new meaning. It's a race against time to ensure your evening of sumptuous feasting isn't overshadowed by an unexpected visit from the porcelain throne. But wait, what of your neighbor, adorned with similar treasure? With 2 ring keys on display, there's an unsaid competition, a battle of who could claim the most ludicrous reason for needing their bling. "Ah yes, mine unlocks the hidden wine cellar dear old Octavius has kept as his cure for boredom." And with that, dear listener, you are now entwined in a world where gleaming ring keys signal not just status, but drama, scandal, and the delicious madness that comes with living in the elite class of ancient Rome. As you drift through this historical reverie, slowly let the colorful tapestry of wealth, humor, and an absurd amount of drama wrap around you. The night might be slipping away, but let's not forget, in a world of shining medals and wily rivals, history was never just about the past. It was a lively treasure chest bursting with hilarity, waiting for you to dig in. Now, let's take a deep breath and prepare to journey deeper into the quirks and oddities of society, for you've only scratched the surface of what awaits in this splendid tapestry of mildly interesting history. Chapter 24. The Dragon Lock and the Curious Scrolls of 530 BCE. Hey guys, welcome back to the wacky world of ancient history, where reality often feels more like an absurd dream you can't quite wake up from, like trying to figure out how to fold a fitted sheet. Tonight, we're not just grabbing a cup of tea, we're diving into a moment so intricate and curious it could make a Swiss watchmaker reconsider their career. The story of a meticulously crafted brass lock shaped like a fierce dragon guarding a wooden chest of ancient scrolls in 530 BCE China. In this historical period known as Classical Antiquity, society was as multifaceted as the dragon's many scales, filled with oddities, power struggles, and yes, a sprinkle of the baffling. So, get comfy, leave your real-life worries at the door, and let's explore this locking system that's way cooler than that rusty padlock holding your bike together. But only if you actually enjoy this, of course.
As you dim the lights and let the hum of a fan guide you into the realm of tranquility, let's ponder a few curious questions. What on earth did ancient folks put in their scrolls? Recipes for hearty noodle soup, or the very first instructions for haphazardly folding paper? Was the dragon lock merely decorative, or was it a symbol of protection, like a bouncer for the world of knowledge, peeking out from behind iron bars while saying, "You shall not pass, unless you have the right vibe"? And oh, can you imagine the mystery that awaited as the lock clicked? You might have assumed it was rumored secrets about rival dynasties or wild party invitations, like an ancient version of Tupperware parties gone awry. Picture yourself standing at this ancient chest, heart racing with the thrill of unlocking generations of wisdom, or possibly just the world's oldest collection of cat memes. Congratulations, you've just woken up in an opulent artisan's workshop in 530 BCE China, surrounded by the scent of sandalwood and the gentle tinkling sounds of metal tools clinking together. Much more soothing than the incessant beeping of your microwave reminding you the leftovers are ready. Your fingertips glide over intricately carved wooden surfaces as you wrestle with the fact that mere mortals didn't have access to modern conveniences like Instagram or instant noodles. Let's take a closer look at this magnificent dragon lock. It's not just any ordinary lock. This brass beauty boasts a design that could make even the fiercest of dragons proud. Complete with scales so detailed, you swear the artisans took dragon styling classes. It gleams despite the dust, a stern yet whimsical presence, silently judging anyone who dared misuse the scrolls trapped within that chest. And let's be real, this lock means serious business. Imagine it being like a hyper-protective mother bird, fiercely guarding her eggs. The symbolism of the dragon is deeply rooted in Chinese culture. Dragons represent strength, good fortune, and very likely, the occasional social media influencer of the day, flaunting their strength in the art of persuasive scrolls from behind ancient scrolls. Now you hear whispers echoing from the scrolls. What is hiding within these bound parchments? Can you feel it? A treasure trove of knowledge awaits. Images of scholars in bamboo huts feverishly unrolling scrolls and debating philosophical ideas are playing out like a historical episode of your favorite trivia game show. Now tell me, my friend, what is the meaning of life? One scholar might ask, hoping to dodge the question for the simple reason that, frankly, they all forgot their initial notes. Oh well, guess we'll just stick with be kind and reach for the dumplings. Let's talk about community, shall we? This dragon lock not only secured the scrolls, but also represented the knowledge sharing between friends who gathered to learn. Like a brunch club without the mimosas, only instead, it's all about heated debates on existentialism paired with the occasional post-meal catnap. It's a fascinating social experiment that brings a soft chuckle about how not much has changed. People still gather, still argue, and best believe there are still those who construct elaborate defenses for their multitude of cat-themed scroll collections. Perhaps you catch a glimpse of a scholar passing judgment on the size of your imaginary chest of scrolls. Oh, this tiny treasure trove that cleverly conceals my unfortunate collection of failed poetry. Their judgmental gaze lingers longer than an awkward elevator ride with strangers. But why would you keep such scrolls hidden? They quip, eyebrows raised in bemusement. Just open it already. I have a seer's prediction that those scrolls contain nothing more than scribbles about a world that hasn't yet learned how to make paper airplanes. But hold on, what about the practicality of these carefully crafted scrolls? Imagine unrolling all those layers only to find shopping lists, diagrams of dubious understanding, like Step 1, gather 3 mystical herbs. Step 2, gently chant the name of an unknown deity. Step 3, allow it to sit under a full moon while you wait for the Wi-Fi to come back. Ah, technology has always had its hiccups, hasn't it? As our majestic dragon lock silently guards the secrets of knowledge, it's clear that even in 530 BCE, securing information was paramount. writers and scholars poured their hearts into scrolls that, ironically, could be lost to time like that weird gum you found stuck to your shoe. But here's the kicker. We've unearthed those notes from history through tongue-in-cheek tales and poems about dragons, and more dragons, serving well to affirm that humanity has always been just a bit obsessed with the fantastical. So, as you let the whimsical charm of this dragon lock wash over you, breathe it in like the comforting scent of a timeless story simmering away on the stove. In this tale of commerce, conflict, and eccentricity, let it wrap around you like a warm blanket. Because if anything, dear friend, history has just proven that sometimes the most curious scrolls are hidden behind really, really cool locks that could easily double as dragon-shaped bookends. Now, let's take a moment to nestle deeper into this journey, where the hum of knowledge meets the laughter of humanity. Hold tight, for there are many more peculiar tales waiting to be revealed. Chapter 25: The Enigmatic Treasure Chest and the Guardian Deity. Hey guys, welcome back to our dive into history's quirkiest corridors, where treasures lie hidden and logic sometimes took a holiday, just as we all dream of doing from our growing to-do lists. Tonight, we're in for a treat that's more puzzling than your last family gathering during the holidays. And trust me, that's no small feat. We're headed to the time of 530 BCE, when even the locks on treasure chests had more layers than the average layered dip at a potluck. Imagine a beautifully carved wooden chest sitting in a humble Indian temple, surrounded by incense that's trying its best to cover up the lingering scent of ages past. But wait, it's not just any chest. It has a dragon-shaped brass lock that would give your average scooter lock a complex. This lock isn't merely there to keep prying eyes away, but boasts a puzzle mechanism so intricate it might as well be a degree in advanced mathematics. Dim lights? Check. Comfy position? Check. Let's spiral down into the past, you tell yourself. But before we get too cozy, let's ponder a few whimsical questions about this era. Did they have scrolling parties where experts tried to unlock depth in philosophical thought, only to find someone scribbled a recipe for pickled mangoes? Did folks brag about how many layers of lint they could collect in a day? And what was the equivalent of "be right back" when you had to leave in the middle of a profound discussion about the meaning of life just because the village goat decided to munch on your notes? Congratulations, you've just woken up in the bustling streets of ancient India, amidst artisans and the fragrant aroma of spices. The sun hangs gloriously low, casting cheerful shadows against the weathered walls of the temple, and you are smack in the middle of a world where treasure chests weren't just decor, they were a whole treasure of their own. Now, let's talk about that treasure chest you're so curious about. It's not just a wooden box, it's a masterpiece. Under your fingertips, you feel the smooth, cool wood. It's polished enough to reflect your slightly bewildered expression, like a slightly confused mirror. But your eyes are drawn to the marvel that is the lock. This dragon lock, oh boy, it's as grand as a mythical beast from a storybook. The detailed scales shimmer under the flickering torchlight, reflecting stories crafted by artisans who clearly had more time on their hands than an Instagram influencer planning their next post. Isn't it amusing, though, that despite the fears of losing treasures to lockpickers, we now carry vast fortunes in our pockets, hidden in devices with screens that suggest we check our bank balance, but also tempt us to peruse cat videos instead. This dragon lock is the early form of the digital age's privacy settings, all wrapped up in iron and myth. But back to our chest. Imagine attempting to solve that puzzle while your friend is over in the corner dramatically explaining how the wall paintings depict ancient heroes, casually ignoring your flustered attempts to unlock the wisdom that might just be hidden behind the dragon's fierce gaze. You can almost hear the collective sigh of wisdom. Oh, the scrolls? They just contain the geometric formulas for calculating the best mango tree to climb. All the rage at Sunday picnics. As you trace your fingers along the lock, you can't help but chuckle at how these artisans seemed to have bent the rules of logic and design, creating a protective guardian that perhaps did more than simply keep things safe. It also sparked lively debates about the true nature of treasure in their hearts. I mean, who wouldn't argue about whether the scroll was genuinely worth more than its weight in gold, or merely a collection of doodles by long-forgotten astronomers convinced they spotted UFOs? Picture the scene. Here you are in this ancient temple, nose in the air, trying to decipher what ancient wisdom lay beyond the lock. The temple's protective deity, a stylized figure, looms above as if judging your cleverness. It perhaps whispers, "Good luck with that, my dear. I've seen sharper minds attempting this and fail." And who wouldn't want to turn puzzle solving into a competitive event? All right, folks, with a gentle tap here and a squint there, can we decipher whether it's wisdom or just a seasonal vegetable market guide? With every failed twist of that lock, laughter erupts. Ah, the camaraderie of failure. Finally, let's address the unavoidable truth. Even if dragons could guide treasures, we've all got our own dragons to slay, or rather, locks to pick in daily life. Whether it's mistakenly sending work emails to your mom, or realizing you've been calling the cute barista Jenna when her name is actually Claire. The real treasure is not just what lies behind ancient locks, but the laughter shared on the way there. So as the echoes of history serenade you to sleep, let that dragon lock hold you in its embrace. Feel the weight of knowledge and charm resting upon you, reminding you that while puzzles can often seem insurmountable, the real art lies in how humor weaves through our shared experiences. Here's to a world where history is layered with laughter, absurdity, and the occasional mix-up about fruit recipes. Sleep tight, dear adventurer, for you've navigated a world where the line between the fascinating and the absurd is just a flick of the lock away.
And now, dear listener, as our journey through dusty camps, bubbling mystery stews, molten beef feasts, disastrous breakfasts, chaotic warrior rituals, and tattooed legends slowly fades into quiet, take a deep breath and let the wildness of the ancient world drift away. Tonight, we walked alongside people who lived through scorching days, freezing nights, terrible cuisine, questionable decisions, and battles that erupted faster than a pot of beans left unwatched. And somehow, through the hardship, grit, sweat, and sheer absurdity, they survived. They laughed. They adapted. They kept going. Mildly interesting history, for we met queens who faced empires, warriors who lived on stubbornness and salted meat, soldiers who greeted the day with anxiety and burnt coffee, cooks who believed in their questionable craft, and everyday people who woke up in a world with no guarantees except dust, danger, and whatever stew happened to be bubbling in the pot. Their struggles were constant, uncomfortable, often hilarious, and undeniably human. And yet, beneath all that chaos, there was resilience, a kind of raw determination shaped not by comfort, but by necessity. These people endured long marches, empty stomachs, brutal weather, and leaders with far too much confidence. They navigated life with courage, humor, and a stubborn will to see another sunrise. Their stories remind us that survival is rarely elegant, but it is always remarkable. As you lie here now, wrapped in soft blankets instead of stiff hides, drinking clean water instead of ancient wine traps, sleeping on a mattress instead of cold earth, take a moment to appreciate how gentle your world truly is. No charging armies, no rogue stew, no tattoo-based identity crises, just quiet, warmth, and rest. So let your breath settle, let your muscles loosen, let the ancient world fade into a soft, distant hum. You've traveled far enough for tonight. May sleep take you slowly and peacefully. Good night.